Chapter 70 Wei Mengrou's ingenious plan to bring peace to the world 3.5k. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This was a mess, but Mu Zhian thought he could still salvage the situation. He just couldn't salvage himself. He had to wait for someone to come and get him. Luckily, that person was sure to show up, more like, she was close by, just watching him with a cool detachment. Mu Zhian calmly took a sip of tea, racking his brain for how to signal his backup. Just then, he heard the soft sound of footsteps, the curtain was pulled aside, and someone entered the private room. It was a woman in a black dress, beautiful and alluring, carrying an ornate wooden box. Huang Manting, not the person I was waiting for, but Huang Manting could work, Mu Zhian thought, immediately rising to his feet with his usual charming smile. He greeted her, "Miss Huang, what brings you here?" Huang Manting wasn't who he expected, but if she was clever enough and willing, she could be exactly who he needed. Huang Manting wasn't exactly Mu Zhian's enemy, but she wasn't his friend either. She was just a mischievous socialite looking to mess with by Ruoxi. Her showing up wasn't a huge surprise. After all, the fact that several guests had ended up in the same private room would naturally reach the ears of the Morning Light Chamber of Commerce's heiress. Huang Manting looked around the room, her eyes landing on the icy Lan Murian, then on the pale and fragile by Ruoxi, and finally on the withdrawn Yi Qian. Her gaze settled on Yi Lingxian, who was sipping tea with an air of elegant composure. Sensing the tension in the room and looking at Mu Zhian, she began to piece things together. This young Master Mu is something else. She narrowed her eyes slightly, a small smile playing on her lips as she calmly placed the wooden box on the table. "I brought you the roots Master Mu acquired at today's auction." Originally, she just wanted an excuse to connect with Mu Zhian again, but now she'd stumbled upon something far more interesting. Mu Zhian cleared his throat. "Miss Huang, is there anything else?" he asked, giving her a pointed look. Huang Manting smiled slyly. "No, not at all. It looks like Master Mu is busy, so I won't intrude." "Carry on, Master Mu." With a playful twirl, she left the private room. Mu Zhian's smile faltered. Damn it. I knew I shouldn't have pinned my hopes on Huang Manting. That witch is completely unreliable. Just then, Bai Ruoxi sighed softly. "I'm sorry for all the trouble that Mu Lang and the others have caused. When we get back to the Mu mansion, I'll talk to him. There won't be any more misunderstandings like today." The seemingly fragile Miss Bai was surprisingly sharp. She looked up, her face a picture of sweetness, and smiled at Mu Zhian. "Right, Mu Lang." Yi Lingxian frowned slightly. Yi Qian, who had been looking down, also raised her head. Lan Murian watched Mu Zhian impassively, waiting for his response. Mu Zhian had no choice but to play along. "Ruoxi, I showed you Miss Huang's letter, remember?" "Yes, and I know Miss Huang invited you to accompany her to today's auction," Bai Ruoxi said with a sweet smile. "Whether you're with Miss Huang, Sister Lingxian, or Sister Qianer, it doesn't bother me. I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. Let's discuss it in detail when we get back, okay? That way, we can avoid future issues." This Miss Bai may seem delicate, but she's got claws. She'd taken the strongest possible position with a few simple words. Outside the private room, Huang Manting was impressed. I've underestimated Bai Ruoxi all along. She'd always seen Bai Ruoxi as powerful but somewhat naive. But today, she seemed to have a darker side. Bai Ruoxi's words were a subtle trap. If Mu Zhian agreed, he'd be publicly confirming their relationship and elevating her status above everyone else. It wasn't like Bai Ruoxi to be so assertive. She'd always projected a weak and beautiful image. But now, Mu Zhian couldn't help but sigh at the complexity of human nature. Yi Lingxian suddenly smiled. "Sister Ruoxi and Brother Mu really have a wonderful relationship. Even though Brother Mu used to spend time at the pleasure houses and flirt with countless girls, I always believed he was an honest, decent man. The fact that you've captured his heart is something worth celebrating." It sounded like a compliment, but something about it felt off. Am I being praised or insulted here? Mu Zhian wondered, his feelings muddled. It was time to put an end to this farce. If it went on, Bai Ruoxi would become something else entirely. neither Huang Manting nor the Ditzy Yi you could get him out of this. Mu Zhian looked up and out toward the doorway. Hey, Sister Mengrou, what did you want to talk about? He asked with a hint of surprise. This was the only solution he could think of. No one really wanted to resolve this situation in the Shura field, right? Even if Mu Zhian had 100 mouths, he couldn't win this argument. When people were angry, they didn't listen to reason. He couldn't say anything right now. The more he said, the worse it would get. No matter how logical his explanation, it wouldn't matter. The only thing to do was get some of them away from each other and then tackle the problems one at a time. Mu Zhian wasn't concerned that this incident would completely destroy their impression of him. He'd never pretended to be a good guy. The girls knew that going in other words, his relationship with Bai Ruoxi and even his attending the auction with the Yi sisters would, at worst, leave them upset. A scumbag didn't fear anger, though. He feared indifference. When his actions no longer evoked emotion, that's when it was time to surrender. As Mu Zhian expected, everyone turned their attention to the doorway. Nothing happened. Mu Zhian was about to speak again when the curtain was pulled aside, and a woman in a pale yellow dress walked into the private room. She was icy, her gaze sweeping over everyone coldly before settling on Mu Zhian. Seeing that the young master's charming smile had vanished, Wei Mengrou pursed her lips, and a slight smile touched the corners of her mouth. She found some satisfaction in her young master's discomfiture. Young master, something's happened at the Mu mansion. You're needed back there. Wei Mengrou said in her usual tone. The drama was over, and it was time for the maid to show off her skills. Seeing Wei Mengrou, Mu Zhian felt a wave of relief. It was like a weight had been lifted. Sister Mengrou acts like she can't stand me, but deep down, she cares. Mu Zhian stood up and frowned in concern. Something's happened at the Mu mansion. That he turned to look at the others. Bai Ruoxi's eyes were dark. Lan Murian held her teacup, her gaze as cold as a winter pond. Yi Lingxian looked at him, her eyes full of distrust. Yi Qian kept her head down, avoiding his eyes. The four women's attitudes had taken a sharp turn for the worse. Even the kind Bai Ruoxi was ignoring him. The auction had single-handedly ruined 3 separate lines of play. Fortunately, no one knew about the Shuolian, or even Sister Mengrou couldn't save me. Mu Zhian sighed inwardly, a sliver of relief mixed in with everything else. This trip to the auction house may have been dangerous, but as long as he could get away now, he had a way to make amends. Provided, of course, that he could actually leave the auction house. That shouldn't be hard. After all, his partnership with Bai Ruoxi was just for show. The other sisters wouldn't object to his leaving, even if he'd likely ruined his chances with the Yi sisters, and Senior Sister Lan would probably ignore him for a while. Since there are urgent matters to attend to, and the auction's almost over, I should get going. Mu Zhian cleared his throat. See you around. As expected, no one stopped him. If the 4 women had felt the same as Bai Ruoxi, leaving today wouldn't have been so easy. Mu Zhian wasn't sure if he should be relieved or more aware of his lack of emotional connection. Under the maid's direction, he left the private room and saw Yi Yu standing outside. Yi Yu smiled coldly. It seems Master Mu's usual charming ways have finally backfired. Mu Zhian was in no mood to entertain him. This can only be a brief enjoyment. Seeing this, Yi Yu laughed inwardly, looked at the Yi sisters coming out of the private room, and said, Ling Xian, should I take you home? After today's events, Yi Yu was finally starting to get worried that his sister might be stolen from him, but Yi Lingxian held her sister's hand and refused politely and coldly. Thank you, Brother Yi Yu. Our carriage is waiting outside. Even if Mu Zhian's actions had annoyed her, Yi Yu's were even worse. After all, Mu Zhian had turned down 2 beautiful women to keep his appointment, which was good enough. The problem was that he and Bai Ruoxi were involved in cultivating together, and that the number 1 beauty was also throwing a wrench in things, which made them feel very unhappy. At the same time, Lan Murian walked out of the private room. She shot Yi Yu a cold look and went down the stairs, but she didn't leave. Instead, she went backstage at the auction. Lan Feiying was already there. The carriage slowly made its way through the streets. Mu Zhian leaned against the soft cushions, lost in thought. Wei Mengrou sat opposite him. Her features were delicate, and her skin was like cream. She gazed at the passing scenery. If this happens again, I won't help you, she said flatly. Wei Mengrou had been cold and detached from the beginning. After all, a maid knew everything her young master had done. Did Ruoxi have someone take her home? Mu Zhian asked. Ruoxi was angry, so she wouldn't want to share a carriage with him. They'd be coming home separately, Wei Mengrou hummed in agreement. But she may not be coming back to the Mu mansion. If Ruoxi didn't come back, she'd probably have to go to the Bai residence. Mu Zhian looked at the maid's imposing chest and cold expression, and couldn't help but think. Wei Mengrou's lips curved up into a knowing smirk. After this, you'll be all alone again. No matter how alone I am, I'll always have you, right? Mu Zhian laughed. Wei Mengrou scoffed, but her face was calm. She leaned back on the carriage seat, her gaze reflecting the lights of the street. She lowered her eyes, obscuring her expression. Chapter 71 Launch Quick Attack Magic, Enemy Manipulator. 4K, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After getting back to the Mu mansion, Mu Zhian hopped out of the carriage, ready to help Wei Mengrou down, but she just gave him a look and stepped out on her own. Mu Zhian didn't let it bother him. Checking out her curvy figure, he grinned. Hey, Mengrou, I really appreciate you backing me up back there. It wasn't every day she went to bat for him like that. After all, her job was to keep him alive, not to bail him out. Wei Mengrou gave him a look like he was some kind of bug. Don't expect it to happen again. She paused. People were starting to get suspicious. Even a cultivator at her level didn't like that kind of attention. Luckily, Wei Mengrou had stepped in. She played the dutiful maid so well that even if people had doubts, they'd still buy into it at least a little, which kept things from getting too awkward. Relax, if anyone gives you trouble, I'll protect you, Mu Zhian said with a laugh. Wei Mengrou just rolled her eyes. More like you'd be locked in the basement before you could even try. Mu Zhian chuckled. Nah, neither Ruoxi nor my senior sister are like that. And the Yi sisters? No way. Truth was, if Wei Mengrou hadn't shown up, he'd have had to rely on good old Yi Yu to save his skin, but that would have been a last resort. You heading out again? Wei Mengrou realized Mu Zhian wasn't going inside. Ruoxi's got her practice to think about. If she's not back by then, I'm heading over to the Bai mansion. Wei Mengrou's tone was icy. If she locks you up in the Bai mansion, you're on your own. Don't sweat it. I know Ruoxi. Mu Zhian reached for her hand, but she pulled away like she'd been burned and gave him a disgusted look. Don't touch me. If a powerless maid said something like that in the future, with a look of disgust and tears in her eyes, well, that was a scene he'd definitely be looking forward to. Mu Zhian shook his head, pushing those naughty thoughts aside for now, and grinned. Go on back, Mengrou. I'll be home soon. If he had to be honest, the crisis hadn't been all bad. At least he'd planted a seed of doubt in a few ladies' minds. They now better understood that Mu Zhian was a scumbag. So, if something like this happened again, it might not be a complete disaster. That's the story he was sticking to. Anyway, Mu Zhian sighed, hopped back into the carriage, waited to make sure Ruoxi wasn't coming back, then told the driver to head to the Bai mansion. Evening, Ruoxi sat alone in her room, staring out at the empty courtyard with a little girl's pout on her face. Her delicate white dress matched her inherently frail personality, making people want to cuddle her or tease her. Seeing the cold beauty blush with shyness would also be a different kind of thrill. She rested on the table, her white feet, clad in white socks, swinging beneath her skirt. Ugh! The beautiful woman sighed softly, looking melancholy, and said to herself, maybe I've been too easy on him. She'd thought her charm would be enough to keep Mu Zhian content, but today he'd not only hung out with Huang Manting but also flirted with the Yi sisters, and to top it off, even that examiner seemed to have something going on with him. I'm just in the Qi training realm now. When I reach the spirit training realm, I'll be able to hold my own against my senior sister. And when I reach the return to void realm, watch out. Imagining herself putting those other girls in their place after ascending to the return to void realm, Ruoxi felt a little better. She was still pretty confident in her talent. At least she was unbeatable among her peers. If she focused on her training, reaching the return to Void Realm in the future wasn't impossible. With that thought, Ruoxi was about to close the window. Just then, she seemed to sense something and looked directly at a corner outside the window. Her voice was crisp and cold. "Mr. Mu, what brings you to the Bai family?" That although her tone was chilly, her eyes flashed with girlish delight, which she tried hard to hide. Standing outside Ruoxi's room was Mu Zhian, who had just arrived at the Bai mansion. He went to the window, looked up at Ruoxi in her room, and said with a smile, "Ruoxi, it's not safe for you to practice here. Come back with me." Practicing in the Bai mansion would expose Bai Yuanfeng's evil aura, which Ruoxi knew too, but she kept her face cold and clear, like when she first met Mu Zhian, and said coolly, "Please go home, Mr. Mu. I'm not practicing today, so it doesn't matter if I'm at the Bai mansion." Then she ignored him, closed the window, and went back into her room. Mu Zhian sighed helplessly. "Ruoxi, there might be some misunderstanding between us. I wanted to talk about it today. But since you don't want to see me, I'll come back in a few days." Ugh. With that, he sighed softly, turned, and started to leave. Mu Zhian had just taken a step when he noticed Ruoxi's door open a crack. It had been closed a moment ago. Something was up. Overjoyed, Mu Zhian quietly opened the door and slipped inside. Night, the stars outside dotted the sky. In a room inside the Bai mansion, Mu Zhian covered his mouth and yawned sleepily. Even though he was a cultivator, he'd need to reach the god-refining realm at least to stay up all night without getting tired. Plus, he had 2 cauldrons in his body, one for his practice and the other for helping others. He got up and fumbled for the water glass on the table, poured himself a glass, and downed it in one gulp. Only then did he feel a little less thirsty. Ruoxi, wearing a plain robe, was half reclined on the bed. Under the hem of her robe, a pair of slender white legs could be vaguely seen, with a thin black ribbon tied to one ankle. According to Ruoxi, her father had found the ribbon in some secret place. It had a blessing effect. Feeling Mu Zhian's gaze, Ruoxi bit her lip and lowered her eyes, a hint of shyness mixed with her cold demeanor. She had been angry when she got back to the Bai mansion and even angrier when she saw Mu Zhian, but when she saw him sighing and getting ready to leave, she'd finally relented, and even let him in. Ruoxi held her robe closed, covering her curves, and went to Mu Zhian. He poured her a glass of water. "Here, drink some. You need to rehydrate after practicing." Mu Zhian had just been in the room with Ruoxi, explaining why he was at the auction house with the Yi sisters, and she wasn't nearly as mad as before. Ruoxi nodded demurely, holding her robe closed, took the water glass, took a sip, and then sighed worriedly, looked up at him, and said, "Malong, do you blame me for being so aggressive today and calling you that in front of those other girls? I'm afraid your senior sister and the Yi sisters are all mad at you now. What if senior sister remembers us during the sex assessment because of this? Senior sister is so scary." Mu Zhian gently covered Ruoxi's slender hand with his warm palm, looked into her eyes, and said softly, "It was just a misunderstanding. I'll talk to her when I have time. She'll understand. And Yi Lingxian and Yi Qian, like I said, I just see them as sisters." Ruoxi's eyes flickered slightly, and she looked deeply apologetic. She looked up, opened her mouth slightly, and said, "I'm sorry, I..." Before she could finish, Mu Zhian grabbed her waist, pulled her into his arms, lowered his head, gazed at the beauty he held, and said, "Don't. Let's just let it go." In the dim light, the beauty's cherry lips parted slightly, her thick eyelashes trembled, and her eyes were moist. They locked eyes, and Mu Zhian raised his hand and gently placed it on her face, saying softly, "Come back to the Mu mansion with me, Ruoxi." Ruoxi lowered her eyes shyly and said, "Okay." The last trace of anger towards Mu Zhian vanished. But why wait? Ruoxi suddenly realized something was off about Mu Zhian's words. It's nice to have a change of scenery. It'd be good to stay a bit longer. Seeing that Ruoxi didn't understand, Mu Zhian leaned in and whispered in her ear. Her pretty face flushed, she pretended to be annoyed, glared at Mu Zhian, and whispered, "Okay." Mu Zhian relaxed, got up, and blew out the candles before getting into bed. The next morning, Mu Zhian woke up refreshed and immediately saw by Ruoxi. They looked at each other and smiled. "I'll wait outside," Mu Zhian said softly, then got out of bed and left. Soon, by Ruoxi, dressed in a white dress with a little makeup, opened the door and walked out. She looked at Mu Zhian, standing tall in front of the courtyard, stepped forward, took his arm, and said with a smile, "Let's go, Mr. Mu." After last night, she'd figured it out. It didn't matter if Mu Zhian was thinking about other people. Of the Yi family sisters, Yi Lingxian was pretty, but she wasn't busty. Yi Qian was busty, but not as pretty as her sister. Although, Yi Qian's pure and cute personality was rather appealing. As for her senior sister, after last night, with Mu Zhian's help, Bai Ruoxi felt close to reaching the peak of qi refining. If she kept going like this, she'd definitely reach the god refining realm before the sect exams. Then, even if she lost to her senior sister, she could take Mu Lang away, and keep him to herself. Mu Zhian always thought of Bai Ruoxi as a harmless bunny, but he didn't realize this little white rabbit was evolving into a big white rabbit, both physically and mentally. After taking Bai Ruoxi back to the Mu mansion, he walked with her in the yard before taking her back to her room. Then, he went to his study, opened the drawer, grabbed a paper crane, and wrote a letter to Lan Mulian. He hadn't wanted to say some things in the auction house because there were too many people. No matter which side Mu Zhian took, the others would explode, but in private, it didn't matter if he went overboard. After finishing the paper crane, Mu Zhian took out a piece of paper, wrote an invitation, and handed it to a secret agent. "Make sure Yi Lingxian gets this at the Yi mansion." He gave the envelope to the agent. The agent bowed and quietly left the study. He wasn't worried the Yi sisters wouldn't read the letter. They'd left in a hurry yesterday. Whatever Yi Lingxian and Yi Qian were thinking, they'd still subconsciously want to hear Mu Zhian's side. Even without that, given Yi Lingxian's personality, she'd definitely want to give him back the 2,000 spirit stones. After all, it was all thanks to Yi Yu. Mu Zhian looked out the window and sighed. If Yi Yu hadn't asked Yi Lingxian to borrow the 2,000 spirit stones, he might not be dating Yi Lingxian today. Meanwhile, in the Yi mansion courtyard, Yi Lingxian sat in the Yi family's pavilion early in the morning, propping her chin on her hand and staring at the letter in a daze. The eldest son of the Mu family had just sent it. Frankly, she didn't hate Mu Zhian. Even when she heard Bai Ruoxi was dual cultivating with him, she was just surprised that the most beautiful woman in Tianxian city had been captured by Mu Zhian, or something like that, but she wasn't angry. Not really. After all, how could Yi Lingxian be angry when she turned down Bai Ruoxi and Senior Sister Lan? Should I go or not? With that thought, she looked at Yi Qian, sitting quietly beside her, and asked in a clear voice, "Qianer, Mr. Mu invited us to the tea house near the arena today. Wanna go?" Yi Qian snapped out of her thoughts, looked at her sister, and asked blankly, "You going?" Yi Lingxian frowned slightly. "I want to give him back the 2,000 spirit stones I borrowed. So I probably should." Yi Qian stole a glance at Yi Lingxian, whose elegance was almost tangible, and whispered, "You could just have a servant take him the spirit stones." Yi Lingxian shook her head. "It's the right thing to do. And I want to thank him in person. If you don't want to go, just stay home. I'll be back soon." Confusion flickered on Yi Qian's face. She thought about the warmth of his hand on hers. She clutched her skirt and finally said, as if she'd made up her mind, "I'll go too." After this, she'd never see him again. That's what Yi Qian thought. After they talked, they took the letter from Mu Zhian and left the Yi mansion. "That's weird. Why are Lingxian and Qian going out so early?" Not far behind, Yi Yu watched the sisters leave, frowning, feeling uneasy, and followed. Chapter 72. Is she also the heroine? 5K, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the tea house, Mu Zhian sat in a brightly lit tea house. A window offered a view directly down into the fighting arena. It was the same tea house where Lan Murian and Lan Feiying had been last time. Man, this tea house has the best view, he thought, taking a sip of tea. My little scene with Ruoxi in front of the arena. Senior Sister definitely saw it, starred as he watched the young monks milling around below. His luck always felt off. Even the locals didn't know about this tea house's amazing view. How did his senior sister stumble on it? And after getting the Liuguang soil, she shouldn't have wanted to go to the auction, so what gives? Is this just side character, bad luck? Mu Zhian brought up his personal interface. He noticed the supporting role font color had changed again, turning a light pink with a faint heart shape around the box, asterisk called it. Every time ye use chosen one luck weakens, my supporting role status shrinks, asterisk but even if I downgrade ye can I actually become the main character, asterisk he complained inwardly, as a supporting character, his luck was inherently worse. Even with talent, he'd always run into bad luck, meant to be a stepping stone for the protagonist, only if Yi fell could his luck improve. His strategy with Bai Ruoxi and the Yi sisters was a way to kneecap Yi's protagonist status, and hey, he was into it. 2. Tasks with benefits. Win-win. Still, even if Yi's luck tanked, would the supporting role title vanish? Or would Heavenly Dao just pick a new chosen one as the star of the show? Mu Zhian shook his head, sipping his tea. Wouldn't that mean I'd be fighting protagonists forever? No sweat. Every protagonist had plenty of wool to shear, sure enough, and who knows? Maybe he'd finally reach the Hedao realm with all those resources. Knock, knock. A gentle knock sounded on the door, followed by a sweet voice. Mr. Mu, can we come in? It was Yi Lingxian, asterisk there early, asterisk come in, he said. The door opened, and a faint fragrance wafted in. Yi Qian stood next to Yi Lingxian. One sister was quiet and refined, the other pure and cute. Yi Lingxian would be a knockout when she grew up, but her chest was a bit of a miss. Still, her sweet face and the peak of pale skin above her boots made up for it. As long as she was pretty, it was good enough, and Mu Zhian wasn't picky. As long as they were feeling it, Yi Qian was developing better than her sister. You could mistake her for the older one. She was like a cute, innocent schoolgirl, judging by her lack of resistance when he held her hand yesterday. Mu Zhian invited them in and poured them hot tea. Yi Lingxian pulled a smooth, round, light blue spirit stone from her ring and placed it on the table. Don't worry about the tea, Mr. Mu. I caused you trouble yesterday. Here's the 2,000 spirit stones I owe. She paused. Qianer and I have plans, so we'll head out. Stone returned, debt paid. The main reason she came was to settle up. Yi Qian glanced at Yi Lingxian, surprised she was leaving so soon. Mu Zhian eyed the stone, neither taking nor refusing it. Did Yi give you that when he got back yesterday? Yi Lingxian nodded coolly. Yi had returned only 1,300 spirit stones, claiming he was short on cash. He'd promised to pay the remaining 700 the minute the auction house money came through. Yi Lingxian knew he had savings. Paying the full 2,000 wasn't an issue. He was undershooting to flex his alchemist status. There weren't many alchemists in Tianxian City, but Yi didn't know that Yi Lingxian wasn't impressed. Mr. Mu, we should get going. Yi Lingxian gently tugged Yi Qian's hand and stood to leave, cutting ties with Mu Zhian. Yesterday, Qianer had acted strangely when she mentioned Mu Zhian. Best to limit their contact. He already had Bai Ruoxi. She seemed nice, but their fight yesterday proved she was a shark. Yi Qian was too innocent. She might get played without her big sis around. Seeing them about to leave, Mu Zhian set down his teacup, looked up at Yi Qian, and said, "Leaving so soon, Qianer?" Yi Qian hesitated, about to follow her sister. "Why not stay for tea? Drinking alone is no fun." She paused, looked at the girl, and said softly, "Sister, why don't you go back?" Yi Lingxian was speechless. She stared at her sister, who looked at her with hope and reluctance, sighed, and sat back down. "If Qianer wants tea, I'll stay a bit." Mu Zhian smiled and poured them tea, then slid the spirit stone back to Yi Lingxian. She took a sip and asked calmly, "What's this about, Mr. Mu?" "I can't take this," Mu Zhian said. Yi Lingxian frowned. "You wasted 2,000 spirit stones. You should take it." She was distancing herself and avoiding owing him. Mu Zhian pulled out a small wooden box, opened it, and smiled. "You think this thing isn't worth it?" Inside was a root as big as a bowl, charred as if struck by lightning, the withered root from the auction. Yi Lingxian glanced at it. "It is and it isn't. Not in your hands." She seemed to know its origin. Mu Zhian asked humbly, "How so, Sister Lingxian?" The rumors about the water of reincarnation are overblown. It can't instantly heal serious injuries. Best case, it extends the dringer's life by a century, max. This dragon whisker can't be healed with the water of reincarnation, but it can be healed by being submerged in a pool of water of reincarnation. After several months of immersion, it may be possible to restore it to its original appearance. If this dragon whisker falls into your hands, it will completely wither in less than half a year. By then, even the water of reincarnation can't save it. Dragon whisker, how did she know so much? It sounded like she'd drunk the water of reincarnation, Mu Zhian thought, then said, Sister Lingxian, can you save it? Yi Lingxian hesitated. Can I see it? Mu Zhian nodded. Please. Yi Lingxian reached in and took out the root, then, something unexpected happened. When Yi Lingxian held the dragon whisker, the withered root seemed to come alive, becoming smooth. A faint medicinal scent filled the room, relaxing everyone. Yi Qian stared, surprised. Mu Zhian was also shocked, staring at the faintly glowing root. When he visited Bai Ruoxi last night, he'd studied it, even giving it to Bai Ruoxi to see if she knew something. Nothing happened. It stayed lifeless, either in his or Bai Ruoxi's hands, but Yi Lingxian instantly activated it. Yi Lingxian put the root back in the box, looked at Mu Zhian, and said, only an alchemist can slowly heal this. In normal hands, it'll die in half a year. Why can you activate it, then? Mu Zhian asked, shamelessly, are you an alchemist? A gifted one? Sorry, that's a secret. Yi Lingxian declined to answer. You could only heal it, but Yi Lingxian could use its power. Yi Lingxian didn't recognize it at the auction. But back at the auction house, Wei Lao, her guard, heard about it and said that the seemingly useless medicinal material was likely the dragon whisk from ancient times. Mu Zhian picked up the root and tried to replicate Yi Lingxian's reaction, but nothing happened, so, all the wool he got from Yi Yu were ancient treasures he couldn't even use himself. Mu Zhian felt Heavenly Tao was messing with him. The bronze piece and Heavenly Tao Qi last time were golden fingers only Bai Ruoxi could use, and this time the dragon Tingshu was limited to Yi Lingxian. Then where is my golden finger? Mu Zhian felt a twinge of regret, but it was okay, there were always opportunities to shear more wool. After all, Heavenly Tao would find ways to favor the chosen one. Mu Zhian gathered his thoughts and, under Yi Lingxian's gaze, put the 2,000 spirit stones on the table into the ring and pushed the wooden box toward her. Yi Lingxian frowned. What do you mean, Mr. Mu? It's wasted on me. Why not let you hold it? If you restore it, we can figure out how to divide it. Consider the 2,000 spirit stones a safekeeping fee. Deal? Mu Zhian said. Yi Lingxian hesitated, eyed the box, then Mu Zhian. The 2,000 spirit stones were nothing to her. Mu Zhian was practically giving her the dragon whisker. Its value would be maximized with her, but she'd made it clear, alchemists could at least keep it alive. Why give it to her? For 2,000 spirit stones. No way. The Mu family didn't need the money. Still, it was tempting. After hesitating, Yi Lingxian nodded, accepting his proposal. I'll return the dragon whiskers to you in a year. A year was enough to fully restore it, and for her to reap the benefits. The atmosphere in the tea house was no longer silent. Mu Zhian and the sisters chatted easily, and humorous words sometimes made the Yi sisters laugh. The atmosphere in the tea room has become particularly relaxed. After a while, Yi Lingxian heard a voice transmission. Wei Lao was asking what was up. He'd wanted his young lady to take the dragon whisker since returning to the auction house yesterday. Yi Lingxian hadn't planned to ask Mu Zhian about it, but he'd handed it to her. Yi Lingxian set down her teacup and smiled. The tea's weak. I'll get someone to change it. She stood and left the room gracefully. Almost at the same time, Yi Yu felt his heart skip a beat. He held his breath and quietly stepped back. He hugged the door of the tea room next door until he saw Yi Lingxian in short boots walking down the stairs and staring at the purple figure of the girl leaving. Then he quietly approached the tea room again. Mu Zhian wouldn't pass up the chance to make a move on Yi Qian. His cousin being harassed was the perfect time to strike. In the past, Yi Qian and Yi Lingxian calling him brother Yi Yu didn't affect Yi Yu much. But when he heard the sisters calling others brother, Yi Yu felt a strong sense of crisis, they should be my sisters. Why do Ling Xian and Qianer call a useless young master of the Mu family who has been obsessed with beauty for many years brother Mu? Yi Yu clenched his fists. Recalling the laughter in the tea house, and Yi Ling Xian and Yi Qian calling him brother Mu, his jealousy surged. As Yi Yu guessed, soon after Yi Ling Xian went downstairs, the conversation between the two was heard again in the tea room. Qianer, are you still angry? Mu Zhian had walked to Yi Ling Xuan's seat and turned to the girl next to him in a luo skirt who looked pure and lovely. I'm not angry. You've been chasing Sister Ruoxi. Now that you're together, I wish you the best, Yi Qian answered nervously. Mu Zhian stared at her face with burning eyes and whispered, have you forgotten what happened in the private room of the auction house yesterday? Yi Qian recalled holding hands with him in front of her sister yesterday, and her face flushed, but she felt an inexplicable excitement. She whispered, Mr. Mu, that's all in the past. Mu Zhian held her hand, stared at her, and said, can you call me brother Mu? Yi Qian was like a rabbit trapped with no escape. She lowered her eyes and didn't speak. Yi Yu was relieved. Yi Qian knew Mu Zhian had bad intentions. Brother Mu. But a gentle, shy voice came from the room, touching the softness in people's hearts, but also sinking Yi Yu's heart to the bottom. Qianer is such a good child. Did you put rouge on your lips today? Can I taste it? Don't do this. Sister will be angry. Love is free, Qianer. Don't. When Yi Yu heard Yi Qian's resistance weakening, he pushed open the door. Mu Zhian held Yi Qian's hand in one hand and her waist with the other, staring at her, while Yi Qian raised her face, her lips slightly parted, ready to be kissed. Yi Yu's face darkened. Master Mu, what are you doing to my cousin? Chapter 73 I will raise your sister myself 4.5k, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The second Yi Yu threw open the door, the charged atmosphere in the tea room evaporated. Yi Qian, snapped out of the sweet spell Mu Zhian had been weaving, looked up at Yi Yu, surprised. Brother Yi Yu, what are you doing here? They'd left the Yi mansion early. He should be meditating, not showing up at this tea house of all places. What a coincidence, Yi Yu, ignoring her question, said gravely, Qianer, don't fall for his sweet talk. Stay away from him. He reached for Yi Qian's hand, but Mu Zhian intercepted him, smiling. Master Yi, what brings you to this tea house so early? And such perfect timing. Mu Zhian's words hit their mark. Yi Qian's eyes widened as she turned to her cousin. Were you eavesdropping outside, brother Yi Yu? Yi Yu wasn't embarrassed in the slightest. He just scoffed. If I hadn't been, you'd already be wrapped around his finger. Yi Qian blushed. Brother Mu wouldn't do that. What was he about to do to you? Yi Yu pressed, his gaze locked on his cousin's flushed cheeks. Yi Qian stammered, unable to answer. Mu Zhian chuckled. Master Yi, let's be honest, you were eavesdropping at the door, right? I'm worried about my sister. Yi Yu glared at Mu Zhian. Master Mu, Miss Bai is no longer my concern, but Qianer is my cousin. I won't let some good-for-nothing lay a hand on her. Mu Zhian looked surprised. You're really Qianer's cousin? My cousin goes out of his way to gather herbs and wants to get you to make a qi training pill, but you had to refuse, just because you weren't in the mood. Is that the kind of cousin who loves his cousin? Yi Yu retorted, I didn't pursue it with Qianer, but she'd already found someone else to make the qi training pill, so I dropped it. He paused, then glared at Mu Zhian. Was that your doing? When Yi Qian said she didn't need a qi training pill, Yi Yu had been confused. Since alchemists were rare and expensive in Tianxian City, he had assumed she'd asked the alchemist at the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce to do it. But now that he thought about it, there were holes in that story. When did Mu Zhian even get close to Yi Qian? There had to have been an opportunity, and that opportunity was the qi training pills. After he refused her offer, something must have happened between them. It all clicked into place. Anger blazed in Yi Yu's eyes, and his spiritual energy flared. By Ruoxi's one thing, but now you're setting your sights on my Qianer. Not only Qianer, you also missed Sister Ling Xian. Mu Zhian set down his teacup and shook his head. I haven't forced Qianer into anything. Can't you see that by her attitude, that he took Yi Qian's hand, looked up at Yi Yu, and said seriously, brother-in-law, please give Qianer and me your blessing. The simple term sent Yi Yu over the edge. He nearly attacked right then and there. An old voice echoed in his mind, calm down. This isn't the place. Why not? Yi Yu raged internally. You want me to stand by and watch Qianer get stolen by this guy? When you were a nobody, you had no chance with her. Now your cousin's found someone, don't interfere. The voice sounded weary. Yi Yu's eyes flashed, still unconvinced. Even so, Qianer shouldn't be with Mu Zhian, especially since he's already got by Ruoxi. How can she be with such a jerk? Would you say no to being surrounded by two girls? Yi Yu was silent. The voice continued, trying to soothe him, your real test is the sect assessment. You'll have plenty of chances to beat Mu Zhian then. Fighting in this tea house will only attract the attention of someone strong. The old man in Yi Yu's body had had enough. Yi Yu had talent to spare, but Mu Zhian was playing him like a fiddle. Fighting in the tea house would piss off whoever was behind it. And Yi Ling Xian was still downstairs. No matter what, if Yi Yu fought, even if he won, he'd still lose big time. Besides, Yi Yu wasn't strong enough to beat Mu Zhian yet. The difference between the first and third levels of Qi training was still too great. Yi Yu calmed down. Mu Zhian looked at him with a hint of surprise. Looks like he's not totally brainless. Mu Zhian smiled. Brother-in-law, want to sit down and have a cup of tea? Yi Yu was alert this time. He saw that Mu Zhian was trying to bait him, and sneered. Mu Zhian, we'll settle this at the sect assessment. He wouldn't let Mu Zhian get to him. The best thing to do was play it cool. With that, Yi Yu turned to leave. That's a much better attitude. Mu Zhian watched him go, then said, oh, and I'll take those 2,000 spirit stones. Remember to give the 700 back to Sister Ling Xian later. Yi Yu froze. His body stiffened. That was a low blow. Yi Yu's biggest win yesterday was making Mu Zhian lose 2,000 spirit stones, but those 2,000 spirit stones had come out of his own pocket in the end. Mu Zhian had only spent 400 spirit stones for the dragon whiskers. Yi Yu's anger threatened to burst, but he remembered the old man's warning and Gong Sun Cheng's fate. He forced himself to hold back. He'd been forced to hold back when he was a nobody. He could endure Mu Zhian's taunts. At the sect assessment, you'll regret this, Mu Zhian. Yi Yu stormed out of the tea room. With Yi Yu gone, the romantic atmosphere Mu Zhian had worked so hard to create vanished. Mu Zhian turned to Yi Qian. She was looking down, clearly upset. He squeezed her hand and said softly, like I said before, my beef with your brother Yi Yu is my business. Don't worry about it. But are you really going to fight him at the sect assessment? Yi Qian asked, concerned. If Master Yi and I were to compete, who would you hope would win? Mu Zhian asked with a smile. She was wearing a similar outfit to the one she wore the first time she was in front of the arena, a light blue double-breasted skirt, revealing her snow-white, round, tight calves, slender waist, and full, upright chest. At this time, she lowered her eyes slightly, and when she heard Mu Zhian's question, she frowned slightly and was about to speak. At this time, Mu Zhian suddenly poked Yi Qian's waist gently. Don't worry, I don't have to participate in the sect assessment. Warm reminder, if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter report error or contact us at the bottom to let us know. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Yi Qian looked up, surprised. You're not joining the Liangyi sect. The Mu family has a quota for admission. Why would I bother with the assessment? Mu Zhian said, smiling. Yi Qian blinked, then said helplessly, Brother Yi Yu's going to be furious. Yi Yu was clearly looking forward to beating Mu Zhian in the assessment. How would he react if Mu Zhian simply reported to the sect under the examiner? I'm not a fighter. Isn't it better for everyone to get along? Mu Zhian shook his head. Yi Qian rolled her eyes. Yi Yu had just gotten so worked up because he was angry with Mu Zhian. She just couldn't hate such a bad guy at all. thanks to Yi, Mu Zhian had lost his appetite for romance. The atmosphere was dead, and he figured Yi Lingxian would be up any minute. If he pushed his luck now, he might not be able to flirt with both of them later. Mu Zhian sat back down and chatted with Yi Qian for a bit. Soon, there was a knock at the door. Yi Lingxian entered, glancing at them curiously. She thought the atmosphere felt wrong. I think I just saw brother Yi leave. Was he here? She asked. Yi Qian nodded. He came, made a scene, then left. He actually came looking for us. Yi Lingxian muttered, frowning slightly. Mr. Wei had told her that Yi had been following them. That made her pretty mad. In the past couple of days, her opinion of Yi had taken a nosedive. If she still remembered the old feelings in the past, now this old feelings have completely faded. Yi Lingxian sat down and changed the subject. Oh, I was wondering, how do you know the examiner? Yi Qian perked up, curious. This Yi Lingxian is still trying every means to alienate me and Yi Qian. Mu Zhian saw right through her. That's a long story for another time. He smiled. Talking about other girls in front of a girl was a major no-no, and Mu Zhian wasn't stupid enough to do that. Yi Lingxian, failing to bait him, looked disappointed, but dropped the subject. After they chatted for a while, Mu Zhian had the coachman take them home. He'd wanted to take them himself, but Yi Lingxian was still wary of him. These things couldn't be rushed. Yi Lingxian's hostility was almost non-existent. Building a relationship would take time. He'd have to take it slow. Watching the carriage vanish, Mu Zhian turned to head home and help by Ruoxi practice. Then he noticed a commotion nearby. Yi was standing in front of the arena, facing Gong Suncheng, who'd been recovering for days. Stepping stone hurts my feet, so I changed the stepping stone. But Gong Suncheng was at the 8th level of Qi training. How could Yi fight him? Mu Zhian rolled his eyes, then noticed a chair near the arena. Lan Murian, dressed in white, sat there calmly, her eyes fixed on the fighters. I wanted to find time to see my senior sister. What a coincidence. Mu Zhian quietly sat next to her. He quickly scanned her and said, Senior sister, fancy seeing you here. Lan Murian simply nodded, not looking at him. Senior sister, did you read my letter? Mu Zhian pressed. Lan Murian nodded, looking at him with a sly smile. I saw it. What a coincidence. I was heading to the tea house, but the innkeeper said the Mu family had booked it. He was having tea with the Yi sisters. Mu Zhian was speechless. No wonder she was giving him the cold shoulder. He'd assumed she'd be happier after reading the letter. Mu Zhian was thinking about how to start the conversation appropriately. Then he noticed a woman sitting near Lan Murian. Red Chongsam emphasized her snowy legs and perky butt. She was watching the fight, her bright lips glistening. Why is Sister Fei Ying here too? Mu Zhian was confused, and his mind recalled the experiences of the past few days for no reason. The first day when he went to Yangfeng Inn to find Lan Murian, Fei Ying was there. That could be said to be an accident, but the second time he was on the fighting stage, Fei Ying was also watching the fight nearby. Then he saw Fei Ying at Yangfeng Inn again. There is a common point. Every time Fei Ying is by her side, there must be Lan Murian. He remembered that Mr. Huang had said before that Fei Ying has a sister in Liangyi sect, and she is an inner disciple. Mu Zhian muttered to this in his heart, looked at Fei Ying who was passionate, and then looked at Lan Murian who was as cold as frost. How could Lan Murian find the best inn in the city on the first day he entered the city? How did she find this tea house near the fighting stage and choose the tea house with the widest view? Combining the previous experience, Mu Zhian suddenly had a bold guess in his heart. He looked at Lan Murian's stunning face covered by a veil, hesitated for a moment, and asked, Senior sister, do you know Sister Fei Ying? Lan Murian glanced at him slightly, and a faint arc appeared at the corner of her mouth. Her last name is Lan. She paused and continued, when I chatted with her yesterday, she specifically mentioned you to me. She's Senior Sister Lan's sister. Mu Zhian was surprised, but stayed calm. I'm good friends with Sister Fei Ying. What did she say? She said you're very smart, and you've become very likable lately. She said you asked her for a favor and bought 5 portions of Liuguang soil. Mu Zhian realized something was wrong. Lan Murian turned her head and stared at him, her voice as crisp and pleasant as when ice cubes were thrown into a water cup. She said calmly, 5 portions of Liuguang soil, how many people did you give them to? Chapter 74, Chosen and the only 16K, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mu Zhian's eyes were fixed on the fight unfolding before him, his expression outwardly calm, except, inside, it was anything but, damn it. Fei Ying and Senior Sister are sisters. No wonder he'd seen Fei Ying at Yangfeng Inn. It wasn't a coincidence at all. Fei Ying was there to see Lan Murian, even arranged her room. Those two sisters were quite the pair, one all charm, the other icy cold. Under normal circumstances, that news would have been fun. Now, though, it was just surprising, maybe even a little daunting, because it meant Lan Murian likely knew everything he'd done back in Tianxian City, including what he'd done with Lan Fei Ying. Mu Zhian noticed a definite chill in Lan Murian's eyes. They were fixed on him, sharp and silent, waiting for his answer. One wrong word here, and I can kiss Senior Sister goodbye, he thought. The starlight dust can preserve medicinal ingredients. I kept 1 portion, gave 1 to Senior Sister, and was planning to take the rest to the Liangyi sect. Mu Zhian sighed, adding a touch of worry to his tone. After all, this trip is to Liangyi sect, and the Mu family's influence doesn't reach inside. If anyone's short on ingredients, I figured the starlight dust could be used as trade fodder. Or, if we get rare stuff, it could preserve it. As he spoke, he pulled a box from his ring, opened it, and revealed 3 portions of the glittering dust. Even though things had been twisted, Mu Zhian kept his cool, mostly because he was being honest. He had asked Lan Fei Ying for 5 portions, but he'd only given 1 to Bai Ruoxi and 1 to Senior Sister Lan, holding on to the rest. Senior Sister, why the sudden interest? Mu Zhian asked, feigning confusion. Lan Murian narrowed her eyes, studying him. Just curious, she finally said. Her gaze seemed to soften a little. Quickly, she changed the subject, a small smile playing on her lips. Now that you're entering Liangyi sect, you're a full-fledged disciple. If you run into any trouble, I'll see what I can do to help. The smile was a good sign, an indication that her mood had improved. Mu Zhian felt a wave of relief. His relationship with Senior Sister was complicated. Online friends felt right. They hadn't met in person often, and he was never sure how Lan Murian truly felt about him, but her sudden inquiry about the starlight dust and where the missing portions had gone made it clear, the Ice Queen did care, at least a little. Senior Sister, you're too kind. Do you help all the disciples this much? Mu Zhian asked, smirking. Lan Murian said matter-of-factly, it depends. If I helped every disciple in trouble, I'd never have time for anything else. So, I'm special, then, Mu Zhian thought, feeling a surge of confidence. It seemed Senior Sister was no airhead. She was sharp as a tack, good news, but also meant that, once he was in the Liangyi sect and hanging around other girls, there was a chance of getting caught, just like yesterday at the auction. Speaking of which, Senior Sister, were you at the auction house yesterday to see Fei Ying? Mu Zhian blurted out. He'd been puzzled why Lan Murian would be there. It wasn't her kind of scene, and she didn't seem to have a reason to be there, but seeing her sister. That made sense. Lan Murian nodded subtly, glancing at Mu Zhian. If I hadn't been there, I would have missed a very interesting scene. Mu Zhian coughed. Miss Huang invited me, so I went. Oh, and, Mu Zhian took out a small box from his ring and offered it to Lan Murian. Here's the elixir made with the Beast King vine. Lan Murian accepted the elixir, tucking it away in her own ring. Then, she looked toward the sparring match, asking. Who do you think will win? Mu Zhian followed her gaze, assessing the 2 fighters. Yi Yu, in a black robe, stood tall, sword strapped to his back. Gong Suncheng, in expensive clothes, was undeniably handsome, but his cold, triangular eyes made you uneasy, as if a snake was watching. Mu Zhian considered the match. Gong Suncheng still injured, right? But he's still at the 8th level of Qi training. The gap between that and Yi Yu's 1st level was just too big. Even with a protagonist's luck, you couldn't hope to beat him. Lan Murian nodded silently. Yu's energy is off. Like it doesn't fully belong to him. He has talent, but he's too impatient. Maybe I ticked him off. Mu Zhian thought with a wince, then, his eyes flickered as he looked at the two fighters, realizing something. Senior Sister mentioned Yu's energy wasn't all his own. Could that be the old man's energy? Just as the thought formed, he caught a whiff of something intoxicating. He turned to see Fei Ying, sitting to his right, legs crossed, a playful glint in her eyes. Well, if it isn't the charming young Master Mu, what is it? All done with the Yi sisters, and now you're chatting up other girls. Mu Zhian groaned inwardly. Sister Lan, you really pulled one over on me. Fei Ying raised an eyebrow, pursed her lips, and then looked at the upright, elegant Lan Murian. You told him everything? He figured it out himself, Lan Murian replied simply. Lan Fei Ying laughed. I gave you hints. It's not like I was keeping this a total secret. Fei Ying had always been upfront about her relationship with Lan Murian, never hiding it but never making a big deal out of it either. Mu Zhian's gaze settled on the veil covering Lan Murian's face. I never would have guessed you two were sisters. They were so different. Add to that Lan Murian's veil, and Mu Zhian had never even considered the possibility. If he hadn't run into Lan Murian those past 2 days, he might never have connected the dots. My sister joined the Lianyi sect a long time ago. After that, she would often come down the mountain to see me. Otherwise, why do you think Mr. Huang would be so polite to me? Lan Fei Ying rested her hand on Mu Zhian's shoulder, her tone teasing. Not everyone's as adventurous as you, Master Mu. Lan Murian turned to Mu Zhian. Is that so? Recalling his adventurousness and his wandering hand, Mu Zhian's blood ran cold. Thankfully, Lan Fei Ying moved on, offering a kind reminder. The sect exams are just around the corner. Even though you're entering without taking it, if your cultivation's too low, there'll be whispers. You should focus on training. Mu Zhian nodded, then suddenly asked. Why didn't you take the exam, Sister Fei Ying? You don't care for immortal cultivation. You should also be in the Qi training state, right? Mu Zhian pressed. Lan Fei Ying smiled and nodded. 8th level. And how old are you? Mu Zhian asked carefully. Lan Fei Ying chuckled. What do you think? Mu Zhian considered. 30. Get out. The beauty playfully swatted him. My sister's not even 30, let alone me. She caught Lan Murian's gaze and coughed. I'm 2 or 3 years older than you, maybe. Around 20, then, 8th level of Qi training. Talented. And raking in the money as an auctioneer. Smart and rich. Mu Zhian nodded thoughtfully. I messed up. I'm sure you'll join later. You have no plans to participate? Lan Fei Ying shook her head. I won't participate. Seeing Mu Zhian's disappointment, Fei Ying smiled. You didn't think you were the only one who could pull strings, did you? Mu Zhian looked at Fei Ying, a smirk on his face and asked, You're being exempted as well? The assessor is Senior Sister Lan, after all. She could pull some strings. Then again, she doesn't seem like that kind of person. Mu Zhian couldn't help but peek at the Ice Queen. Stop thinking about it that way. My sister isn't that kind of person. Lan Fei Ying gently pushed his arm before adding, Sister, I've known her since I started the God-refining realm. She's met many elders and leaders and many fought to accept her as their disciple. What happens next? Mu Zhian was curious. The sect master naturally refused to agree, so the matter was dropped. Lan Fei Ying narrowed her eyes and smiled. Then they found out somewhere that she had a younger sister. Lan Fei Ying did not continue, but Mu Zhian already understood. Since she and Lan Moyan are sisters, Lan Fei Ying is naturally very talented. This sect examination is the best time to accept a disciple. In fact, Lan Fei Ying's talent is really good. She has reached the 8th level of Qi training before she was 20, and she is also the best among her peers. I see. Mu Zhian nodded slightly. it seems that Sister Feiying will be able to reach the divine refining realm soon. It will probably take at least half a year to reach the god refining realm. Lan Feiying shook her head gently. Mu Zhian asked curiously, I once heard Sister Mengrou say that there is a hurdle between the peak of Qi refining and the realm of God refining. It depends on one's personal understanding. How should we understand this understanding? The divine refining realm is related to your past experiences. Everyone's understanding is different. Even the elders have difficulty imparting experience. Lan Mulyen said lightly, many people have been stuck in the Qi refining realm for most of their lives because they failed to do so. If you go out of your own way, you will have no hope of becoming a god. Mu Zhian nodded slightly thoughtfully. Wei Mengrou Shen Lian can shield her own Qi and other people's Qi, and Ren always captures the soul of others. Based on my past experience, if I step into the god refining realm in the future, I wonder what kind of abilities the god refining realm will give me. Mu Zhian looked at the battle on the stage, feeling a little more eager and expectant. Bang. At this time, a clear voice came from the high platform. Gongsun Qingsheng. Mu Zhian looked up and saw the pale Gongsun Qingsheng looking down at Yi Yu and sarcastically said, Yi Yu, your talent is good, but it is too naive to think that you can defeat the 8th level of Qi training at the 1st level. A little bit. Unexpectedly, Yi Yu was not annoyed at all, but shook his head and chuckled. Congratulations, Master Gongsun. After he finished speaking, he seemed not to care about the wounds on his body, lightly dusted himself off, and was about to step down. Gongsun Qing seemed to have noticed something, his eyes moved slightly, staring at Yi Yu's back, and said, Second Qi Lian. Are you using your sparring with me to hone your body? Yi Yu raised the corner of his mouth, turned his head to look at Gongsun Qing, who had a gloomy face, and said with a smile, Thank you, Master Gongsun, for your help. Realizing that the monks on the side were looking at him with admiration in their eyes, Yi Yu suddenly felt very good. Just after leaving the tea house, Yi Yu felt that there were signs of a breakthrough in his realm. As a result, he happened to meet Gongsun Qing and fought with him. He used Gongsun Qing to temper his body and was promoted to the 2nd level of Qi training. Under the surprised eyes of everyone, Yi Yu walked down the competition stage. At this time, he suddenly seemed to feel something, and turned his head slightly to look in a certain direction. His eyes suddenly fixed on Mu Zhian. On the left side of Mu Zhian sat a beauty in a white dress who looked like a woman in a painting, with long hair flowing down like a waterfall, a graceful figure, and a perfect proportion of shoulders and neck. Lan Mulyen, sitting on the right side of Mu Zhian, is a woman who is dressed quite sexy. She has a round and delicate face, charming eyes, and long snow-white legs sitting with each other crossed. Just at the first glance, people are attracted to her. It's hard to look away. It was the chief auctioneer of the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce. Gongsun Qing's eyes were also attracted, and looking at the scene in front of him, his face suddenly became extremely gloomy. How did Mu Zhian come to be related to the assessor? Mu Zhian ignored the gazes of the two men, turned his head to look at the beautiful Lan Mulyen, and said with a smile, Senior Sister, let's go to the tea house for a cup of tea. Mr. Mu just had tea with the Yi sisters, won't your stomach be full? Lan Mulyen looked at Mu Zhian with a slight smile. Feiying and I want to talk in private. Zong, the exam is coming soon. Master Mu should go back to practice as soon as possible. After saying that, he ignored Mu Zhian and left with Feiying. Gongsun Qing couldn't hear the conversation between several people on the high platform, but seeing Lan Mulyen completely ignoring Mu Zhian, he couldn't help but reveal a sarcastic smile. No matter how powerful your Mu family is in Tianxian City, what's the use? With Lan Mulyen's status, she didn't need to look at the Mu family's expressions. To her, Mu Zhian was just a playboy who had accomplished nothing. Sensing Gongsun Qing's gaze, Mu Zhian just laughed it off. He's not naive enough to go out of his way to explain or anything like that. The happier Gongsun Qing is smiling now, the more excited he will be when he learns the truth later, but it seems like there is no chance today. I'll try it another time next time, and what Senior Sister Lan said is right. The sex examination is coming soon, so we still have to seize the time to practice. Thinking of this, Mu Zhian got up and planned to go home. Just at this time, Yi Yu walked past him, glanced at Mu Zhian, grinned and said, Master Mu, it seems that not everyone will act based on the Mu family's face. Mu Zhian imitated Yi Yu's tone and grinned, Master Yi is right, I'd better go back to accompany Ruoxi. She is a girl who is very afraid of loneliness. By the way, I also want to thank you for your cold rejection of Sister Qian'er in front of the competition ring last time, otherwise I wouldn't have the chance to taste her rouge today. Yi Yu's smile slowly solidified. Mu Zhian had already gotten into the carriage. Unknowingly, I returned to Mu Mansion. Pushing open the door, she happened to see Bai Ruoxi, who was finishing her meditation. She was wearing a white palace dress decorated with plum blossoms. Even in the dim room, her skin was as smooth as snow, translucent and beautiful. Although this palace dress covers too much skin, the amount of breast milk that should be shown will still be shown. This is the benefit of a good figure. Mu Zhian silently looked at Bai Ruoxi, whose beautiful figure was completely covered in this white palace dress, and felt a little moved for a moment. After the two of them looked at each other, Bai Ruoxi noticed Mu Zhian's burning eyes, held the teacup in both hands, lowered her head, and whispered, "What's wrong?" Mu Zhian closed the door and the window together, walked to her side, and asked with concern, "How is your cultivation?" 9 levels of qi training, but we will soon break through the bottleneck. Bai Ruoxi smiled reservedly. At this time, Mu Zhian stared at the girl and said softly, "Let me help you." It sounds so nice, isn't it? Bai Ruoxi glanced at him and refused reservedly, "No need, cultivation is fast enough with the energy of heaven." Before he finished speaking, Mu Zhian had already gently squeezed Bai Ruoxi's cold and soft hand, staring at the weak and cold eldest lady, and said, "Ruoxi, the sex exam is coming soon. I'm worried about whether you can pass the exam, so I'd better let you go. Let me help you." This time, Bai Ruoxi did not say anything, but looked at Mu Zhian with shy eyes. Mu Zhian looked at Bai Ruoxi's beautiful face and her soft lips painted with rouge, lowered his head slightly, and kissed her lips. Silence is better than words at this time. 2 days later, Bai Ruoxi slowly opened her eyes, and her originally cold face had a hint of seductive charm, compared with the cold and noble eldest lady of the Bai family in the past. Bai Ruoxi now has a bit more mature sexiness that she had never had in the past. Although she looks cold and weak and difficult to approach, she is actually charming and seductive. Of course, only Mu Zhian can deeply appreciate this charm. The peak of qi refining. Bai Ruoxi whispered to herself, with unprecedented calmness in her gorgeous eyes. She could feel that she had reached a bottleneck. The realm of refining spirits is just around the corner. However, this realm of soul refining has blocked too many people. When Malong was lying on the bed last night and holding her in his arms, he also said that even if one has a talent of the demon level, it will take at least 2 or 3 months to reach the realm of soul refining, because entering the realm of soul refining requires not talent, but personal comprehension. But Bai Ruoxi clearly felt that she had touched the threshold of the realm of soul refining at this time. As long as she took another step forward, she could enter the realm of soul refining. Refining qi and transforming into spirit is the realm of soul refining. Miss Wei's soul refining is to hide her breath, my father's soul refining is to break all laws with one force, and my mother is to seduce. Bai Ruoxi's eyes flickered slightly, and he looked down at the young man who was meditating and practicing beside him. His eyes flickered slightly. Malong has not been honest these days. There are too many temptations outside. In the future, when he enters Liangyi sect, such temptations will become more, especially since he is a natural furnace, which will definitely attract all kinds of vixens. My soul refining should be to lock other people's body and mind. The frail and cold Miss Bai slowly closed her eyes, and the spiritual energy in the cauldron in her body was quietly being refined. Because of the blessing of the heavenly qi, the speed of refining is several times faster than that of ordinary people. If a genius needs 2 or 3 months to refine the spirit realm, then she is the exception of the chosen one. She will be promoted to the spirit realm today. Time passed silently, and another day passed unknowingly. Mu Zhian meditated for a day, opened his eyes, felt the spiritual energy surging in his body, and felt unprecedented joy. I have practiced the 4th level of qi, and I almost practiced the 5th level of qi. Mu Zhian looked down at his hands and nodded with satisfaction. Not bad. His talent has always been quite good, and the title of God's envy of talents has already explained everything. In addition, with the assistance of Bai Ruoxi's heavenly qi, the speed of cultivation will naturally be much faster than his peers. At this rate, maybe I can catch up with Ruoxi. Mu Zhian turned his head to look at the girl beside him. She was wearing a loose white inner garment. Bai Ruoxi had been immersed in meditation and cultivation for the past 2 days. Mu Zhian occasionally woke up and went out to accompany his senior sister to go shopping, or went out to drink tea with the Yi sisters. When he came back, Bai Ruoxi was still meditating and cultivating. Mu Zhian was also worried about Bai Ruoxi's physical problems, but later he personally confirmed her heartbeat, everything was normal, and her breath was also stable. After Ruoxi woke up and noticed that I was a 4th grade qi training, I'm afraid she would be so surprised that she couldn't close her mouth. Mu Zhian looked at the girl's delicate face and couldn't help laughing. He stood up and was about to leave the room to prepare some cakes, and waited for Bai Ruoxi to finish meditating and enjoy them with her. When he just got out of bed, he suddenly felt the spiritual energy behind him spread out. The pressure brought by the spiritual energy made Mu Zhian's footsteps stop abruptly. He turned his head and saw that Bai Ruoxi had quietly opened her eyes. In those gorgeous eyes, there was an indescribable majesty. Her temperament has changed a little. This change is internal and cannot be explained, refining the spirit realm. Bai Ruoxi felt the changes in her body, and a very beautiful arc was drawn at the corner of her mouth. She raised her eyes and looked at Mu Zhian. She said in a clear voice, "Mu Lang, how are you practicing?" Mu Zhian smiled and said, "I'm practicing the 4th level of qi, and I'm almost practicing the 5th level of qi." Without the golden finger, relying on personal talent alone to practice the 5th level of qi so quickly, such a speed of practice is really amazing. Just waiting to see Bai Ruoxi's surprised look. Who knows, Miss Bai, who is wearing a loose white single dress, just smiled at him and didn't say anything. Mu Zhian noticed something was wrong and couldn't help asking, "What's wrong, Ruoxi?" "I've reached the spiritual refining realm." Bai Ruoxi said softly, Mu Zhian, that he couldn't hold it in any longer. Chapter 75 Mu Zhian, Am I the Heroine? 4.5k, 1/2. You are listening at MTnovel. Only a few days. Less than 4, and Bai Ruoxi's already in the God-refining realm. Even Mu Zhian felt a twinge of jealousy. He was talented, sure, but it came at the cost of his lifespan. It was like the heavens, giving him incredible cultivation abilities while simultaneously shortening his time to use them. Bai Ruoxi, on the other hand, didn't seem to sacrifice a thing, yet her cultivation was advancing at this crazy pace. Is she the chosen one? Then, Mu Zhian recalled their constant practice sessions in his room, the nights they spent cultivating together. Seeing Bai Ruoxi's smile now, he felt a bit better. Okay, so she's in the God-refining realm, but I deserve, like, a third of the credit. After all, her rapid growth was partly due to their dual cultivation over the past few days. So, what new ability did you get from the God-refining realm? Mu Zhian asked. Bai Ruoxi's eyes flickered as she looked at him, her lips parting as if to answer, but then, a thunderclap ripped through the air, cutting off their conversation. Bai Ruoxi turned toward the window. Moments ago, the sky had been clear, but now it was choked with dark clouds. Thunder roared, and jagged lightning crackled in the heavy, lead-colored sky. Just looking at it sent a shiver down your spine. Heavenly tribulation, Mu Zhian said, almost without thinking. Cultivating immortality is like defying heaven itself. Generally, refining essence and refining qi are still within the bounds of humanity and don't trigger a tribulation, but stepping into the spirit refinement realm is when you officially begin walking the path of immortality. Some cultivators with exceptional talent face a heavenly tribulation with each advancement. Some geniuses even trigger one when they simply improve their grade. Obviously, Bai Ruoxi belonged in that category. Staring at the tribulation clouds, Mu Zhian's expression turned serious. He'd never seen one before, but judging by the aura of destruction radiating from those clouds, this wasn't going to be easy. Bai Ruoxi, however, remained calm. She looked up at the clouds moving toward her, then turned to Mu Zhian and smiled. "Wait here. I'll be right back." The old her might have been worried facing a tribulation like this, but she was reborn, even against a heavenly tribulation. Bai Ruoxi was confident in her ability to prevail. Watching her leave the room, Mu Zhian paused, then followed. He found Wei Mengrou waiting in the courtyard. They exchanged a look, and without a word, Wei Mengrou summoned her flying sword. "Follow me," she said. Sister Mengrou gets me. Mu Zhian put his hands on her waist, and the sword shot through the air, catching up with Bai Ruoxi as she flew out of the city gates. Yang Fengyan, Lan Mulian sat cross-legged on her bed, eyes closed in quiet meditation. A closer look would reveal that her room was filled with purified spiritual energy, constantly being drawn into her body. Her cultivation speed was on par with Bai Ruoxi's. Then, a slight frown creased her brow. She opened her eyes, tilting her head, she glanced toward the window. "A spirit refining realm tribulation?" she whispered, a hint of surprise in her voice. "In Tianxian City?" Someone advanced. After a moment's thought, Lan Mulian raised a hand, grabbing a cloud from the sky. She stepped onto it and gracefully flew out of Tianxian City. Yi Mansion. Yi Yu slowly opened his eyes, feeling the changes in his body after reaching the second level of qi training. He clenched his fists in excitement. In just a few days, he had reached the second level. That level of talent was rare even in the world of immortal heroes. It's no wonder that Yi Yu is so excited with such a monstrous talent. After this sect assessment, Bai Ruoxi would regret breaking off the engagement. Mu Zhian might have the Mu family's resources, but his potential was limitless. After the assessment, Bai Ruoxi would realize who she really belonged with, but even if she did regret it, he wouldn't take her back. Remembering her face, Yi Yu was filled with anger and a bitter jealousy. These days, Bai Ruoxi practically lived at the Mu mansion, and judging by her closeness with Mu Zhian, she was likely his woman now. Yi Yu's fists tightened. He had to endure until he made a name for himself during the sect assessment. He was about to meditate again, but the old man in his body suddenly said, surprised, "A god-refining realm heavenly tribulation." Yi Yu blinked, turned toward the window, and his eyes locked on the dark clouds gathering not far away. An aura of destruction washed over him, and his heart pounded in his chest. Someone was facing a tribulation. It had been so long since anyone in Tianxian City had reached the god-refining realm, and judging by the terrifying pressure of the clouds, this cultivator was likely a prodigy. Who could it be? It was unlikely to be one of the older generation. This felt like a gifted youngster. Gong Sun Cheng, Huang Manting, or Bai Ruoxi. Gong Sun Cheng and Huang Manting were only at the 8th level of qi training, and it was impossible for them to reach the 9th level of qi training in a short time. Yi Yu stared in that direction. Bai Ruoxi's heavenly tribulation, that in just a few days, she'd reached the spirit refinement realm. Yi Yu threw open the door and raced toward the city gates in disbelief. That day, the heavenly tribulation drew the attention of countless cultivators, as well as spies from the Gongsun family and the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce. Mu Zhian, led by Wei Mengrou, followed by Ruoxi out of the city, watching from a distance. Approaching the tribulation would only strengthen it, forcing them to face it together. That would be suicide. A huge vortex formed in the sky, slowly spinning, with lightning surging at its center, brewing its power. Did Sister Mengrou face a tribulation when she advanced to the god-refining realm? Mu Zhian asked, watching Bai Ruoxi standing beneath the clouds with her sword. Yes, but nothing like this. Wei Mengrou frowned, staring at the figure in white. 6 levels of tribulation. The tribulation in the refining god realm wasn't supposed to be that bad. Typically, a newly promoted cultivator had reached their limit after 2 or 3, the destructive power increased with each one. The refining god realm only faced a maximum of 6, what had Bai Ruoxi gone through to face this? Heh. It'd be funny if she died, a voice drawled. Gong Sun Cheng stood nearby, watching with a mocking smile. Sensing Mu Zhian's gaze, he said, "Don't get me wrong, Master Mu. If I could, I'd hope Miss Bai survives. But with a tribulation this dangerous, anything could happen, right?" That he wasn't worried about Mu Zhian or Wei Mengrou attacking him here. The sect's examiner was close by, and they would definitely stop them. Mu Zhian smiled. "If something happens to her, I'll be very sad. Then I can only offer my condolences when the time comes. Then I'm afraid you will also have to mourn and accept the change at that time." Mu Zhian smiled, "Threatening me?" Gongsun Qing chuckled. Gongsun Xiong had said that Mu Zhian was rational, that everything he did was self-serving. Even if Bai Ruoxi died, Mu Zhian could only be furious and helpless. Would he risk a fight to the death with the Gongsun family, letting others take advantage? That wasn't his style. Master Mu. Gongsun Qing started to say something, but Mu Zhian cut him off. Get lost. Gongsun Qing's face darkened. Master Mu, we're both heads of our families. That's hardly appropriate, don't you think? Get 10 miles away, now. If you don't want to leave gracefully, I can help you, Mu Zhian said calmly. You think you can? Gongsun Qing started to say, but stopped when he caught Wei Mengrou's cold stare. Though his father had warned him not to anger Mu Zhian, Gongsun Qing was unconvinced. How could someone younger treat him like this? Under Wei Mengrou's gaze, Gongsun Qing retreated in disgrace. He knew that if Wei Mengrou didn't kill him, the examiner wouldn't step in. As this little scene played out, more and more cultivators gathered outside the gates. Their eyes were fixed on the figure in white at the center of the tribulation. How long has it been since a god-refining realm tribulation? Miss Bai's not even 20 yet, right? And she was only at the 9th level a few days ago. Her talent is unmatched. I've seen a tribulation before, but nothing like this. Even the examiner's been alerted. They must think highly of her. She's the first genius of the younger generation to reach the god-refining realm. She's destined for greatness. They watched the figure in awe. While some might have fantasized about courting Bai Ruoxi after she reached the god-refining realm, most were now resigned to admiration. If she makes it through, the Mu family will be ecstatic, right? He'll have a Taoist companion who's reached the god-refining realm at a young age, and who will be devoted to him. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. They looked at the young man in white standing on the flying sword with envy. The first bolt's coming, someone cried out. In the vortex above, ripples appeared, and golden light burst forth. A thick bolt of lightning pierced the sky like a dragon falling from the heavens. The power of the bolt and the sound of the thunder made people tremble. Was a god-refining realm tribulation really this terrifying? But Bai Ruoxi didn't dodge. Instead, she summoned a mysterious bronze sword. She held it in front of her, then with a flick of her wrist, slashed out, bisecting the lightning. That's the sword she used against Gongsun Qing. Someone cried. The power of this first bolt is stronger than Gongsun Qing. If it's the second, even 2 Gongsun Qings couldn't stand against it. People chattered, using Gongsun Qing as a unit of measurement. Mu Zhian watched Bai Ruoxi flying with the bronze sword. Something was wrong. Bai Ruoxi didn't want to endure the tribulation. She wanted to block it. Boom! As the second bolt fell, Bai Ruoxi raised her sleeve, and a golden chain snaked out, forming a net in front of her, intercepting the thunder. I've never seen that chain before. Is this what she learned in the spirit refinement realm? Mu Zhian wondered. By then, Bai Ruoxi had flown to the tribulation clouds. She raised her hand again, sacrificing the bronze sword, cutting down the third bolt. Without pausing, she threw the sword, and it blasted away the fourth and even the fifth bolt. Finally, the sword pierced through the clouds, and the sixth bolt vanished before it could strike. No. It wasn't disappearing. The sword was absorbing it. But to everyone else, it looked like the bronze sword had broken through the tribulation clouds. A ray of light shone through the gap. Sunrise after the storm. The crowd fell silent, and their eyes turned to the woman standing in the sky. She broke through the sixfold tribulation that easily. Mu Zhian looked at her standing there with her sword, her skirt billowing in the wind, and felt a strange sensation. He had wondered if Bai Ruoxi was the protagonist. After seeing this, he was almost certain that Yi Yu wasn't. Bai Ruoxi was. Then the question came. If Bai Ruoxi was the chosen one, what role did I get? Was I the heroine? Mu Zhian joked to himself. He raised his hand to open his interface and saw the pink heart box with the word supporting role. Its color seemed much darker than before, more like red. What does this heart even mean? Mu Zhian thought to himself. Before he could dwell on it, Bai Ruoxi flew over on her sword. Mu Zhian gathered his thoughts and asked, "Are you okay?" Bai Ruoxi nodded. Just a few thunderbolts. No problem. Mu Zhian felt relieved, he sensed no sign of disorder in her aura, he changed the subject. Was that chain what you learned in the spirit refinement realm? By Ruoxi glanced at Lan Murian, standing on the clouds, then quickly looked away, she nodded, then looked at Mu Zhian and smiled. It's not convenient here. I'll tell you when we get back. Chapter 76 by Ruoxi, gradually sickly version 5.5k, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lan Murian, standing on auspicious clouds, watched by Ruoxi leave with Mu Zhian, a god-refining realm cultivator at under 20, the Bai family's eldest daughter, her future is limitless, she's sure to cause a stir in the Liangyi sect tryouts, the Bai family's eldest daughter is a true prodigy, she's probably going to ace the sex assessment, Lan Murian refocused and was about to head out when she caught a whiff of pink smoke on the horizon. It vanished almost as quickly as it appeared, you'd miss it if you weren't paying attention, Demonic energy, Lan Murian's eyes narrowed, scanning the crowd. Everyone was watching the tribulation, making it impossible to pinpoint the source. She quickly pulled out a talisman, ignited it with a wave, and scattered the ashes. When Lan Murian looked up again, her eyes glowed with golden light, chi gazing, a Liangyi sect secret technique, everyone has chi, spiritual energy for cultivators, luck for ordinary people, evil energy for demons, even emotions, the chi gazing technique reveals it all, Lan Murian swept her gaze across the monks. Each emitted a translucent white aura, no demons here, but that wisp of demonic energy couldn't have been a hallucination, strange. My chi gazing should have picked up any demons hiding in the crowd, but I'm getting nothing, the only thing that makes sense is, the demon left just now, but who just left, the beauty in white turned, her gaze settling in the direction Mu Zhian and the others had gone, Yi Yu was also staring that way. He was looking toward where Mu Zhian had departed and, more specifically, at Bai Ruoxi's beautiful back. A knowing smile slowly spread across his face. Word of the god-refining realm cultivator's tribulation spread like wildfire that afternoon, it was hard to miss, and tons of people saw it firsthand. Everyone was talking about it, It's been ages since Tianxian City's seen a god-refining realm cultivator, plus, that tribulation was way tougher than what most god-refining realm cultivators face, normally, even 3 tribulations are rare for someone in the god-refining realm. After all, the tribulation strength scales to the cultivator's power, exceeding their own, but Bai Ruoxi emerged unscathed, people couldn't help but take notice, That Bai girl is something else. She breezed through her tribulation even with how fast she's advancing. Back at Yangfeng Inn, Lan Feiying was in Lan Murian's room, watching the woman in white by the window. I overheard everyone talking about it when I walked in. Lan Murian glanced at a manual on the desk. Bai Ruoxi's progress is startling. So, Bai Ruoxi's a shoe-in to top the Liangyi sect entry, right? Lan Feiying asked. Most likely. Lan Murian nodded, a subtle frown creasing her brow, after the tribulation ended, I distinctly felt a trace of evil energy near the city gates, most wouldn't notice it, but I'm unusually sensitive to chi. Lan Murian hesitated, then retrieved a paper crane from her ring. Lan Feiying raised an eyebrow. Chatting with the Mu family's young master again? It's different this time. Lan Murian shook her head. I need to ask him something. At the Mu residence, Mu Zhian sighed, looking at Bai Ruoxi in the yard. I didn't expect you to reach the god-refining realm so quickly. Everyone's got their own unique talents, but Bai Ruoxi's cultivation speed is on a whole other level, comparison is the thief of joy, Wei Mengrou watched them. Bai Ruoxi was by the snow lotus pond, knees bent, looking at the lotuses with a faraway expression, a hint of worry flickered in her eyes, She's got talent for days. If you don't keep pushing yourself, you'll never keep her in check, Wei Mengrou warned coldly. Mu Zhian chuckled. It's just the god-refining realm. I could take her down with one hand. The god-refining realm is strong, but Mu Zhian still got it covered. Asterisk it's by Ruoxi's sway over people's hearts that worries me. Star. Don't let her walk all over you, Wei Mengrou said suddenly, watching the girl by the pond. By Ruoxi rested her chin on her hands, her face framed by a stray strand of hair. As if sensing their gazes, she turned, met Mu Zhian's eyes, smiled shyly, and looked away. Mu Zhian smiled back, then shook his head. Ruoxi's not the controlling type. You can see it in how she carries herself every day. Asterisk by Ruoxi's always been a delicate flower. She may seem aloof, but I've seen firsthand that she has a warm heart. Star, Wei Mengrou grunted, unimpressed. Asterisk Mu Zhian understands people, but he's clueless about women. Star. Asterisk especially their fickleness. Star. Oh, and one more thing you should know, Wei Mengrou said, her tone becoming serious. Mu Zhian turned to her. During the tribulation, Bai Ruoxi's body was tempered by lightning, and the surrounding spiritual energy was purified. But a trace of demonic energy slipped out of her core. I don't know if any other god-refining realm cultivators caught it, Wei Mengrou explained. Mu Zhian listened without reacting. Aren't you surprised? Did you notice it? Wei Mengrou asked, puzzled. Mu Zhian shook his head. The truth always comes out. People will find out eventually. The sect assessment is around the corner. If this messes with Bai Ruoxi's entry, it'll be bad, Wei Mengrou whispered. Asterisk if Bai Ruoxi's a demon or has demonic energy in her, it could sink her chances. Star. Asterisk even if she is a god-refining realm genius. Star. Asterisk in this world, humans and demons are sworn enemies. Star. Asterisk it could even drag the Bai family down with her. Star. Asterisk Mu Zhian might get grilled too since he's been close to Bai Ruoxi. Star. Asterisk if those god-refining realm cultivators from the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce or the Gongsun family picked up on the demonic energy, things would get messy. Star. What's your plan? Wei Mengrou pressed. Mu Zhian paused. If we were in the Liangyi sect, this would be tricky. He turned to the beautiful maid and smiled. But Tianxian City is Mu family territory. Mu Zhian opened the door, ushering Bai Ruoxi into the room. He poured her a cup of tea. You earned it today, Ruoxi. Bai Ruoxi seemed lost in thought. She took the cup, smiling faintly. It's all right. Sooner or later, I'll have to face tribulations after reaching the soul-refining realm. I'd already braced myself. Mu Zhian watched Bai Ruoxi sip her tea, then asked, that chain you unleashed, did you figure that out in the soul-refining realm? Bai Ruoxi nodded, lifting a delicate hand and flicking a finger. A golden chain appeared, it coiled around Mu Zhian's hands like a snake, then his feet, until he was completely bound. Mu Zhian tried to break free, but couldn't. An. I feel something strange. Star. He could feel Bai Ruoxi's heartbeat. Mu Zhian saw Bai Ruoxi staring at him. What is this? I call it the love lock. Bai Ruoxi knelt beside Mu Zhian, gently taking his hand and placing it on her chest. Can you feel my heartbeat, Malong? Asterisk how can I feel your heartbeat with your boobs? Asterisk Mu Zhian smiled and nodded. I feel like we're connected. Bai Ruoxi looked at Mu Zhian and smiled. Someone bound by the love lock can tell when you're lying. You were lying just now, Malong. Asterisk crap, it's a lie detector. And way scarier. Asterisk Mu Zhian I'd miss by. Asterisk I've got a bad feeling about this. Star. Bai Ruoxi used to seem like a noble, cold lady, but would show her vulnerable side around her lover. Asterisk now, it's like she's slipping out of my grip. Star. In battle, it can briefly restrain your opponent. The duration depends on their strength. Bai Ruoxi waved her hand, and the chain vanished. Mu Zhian stretched, loosened up, looked at Bai Ruoxi, and smiled. Congrats on leveling up so quickly. Bai Ruoxi gave a reserved smile, seeming shy. You helped. Asterisk without Mu Zhian, I wouldn't be at the soul-refining realm already. Asterisk. Mu Zhian wrapped his arms around Bai Ruoxi's waist, pulling her close. Bai Ruoxi playfully resisted, trying to push him away. Mu Zhian grabbed her hand and interlaced his fingers with hers. The most beautiful woman in Tianxian City softened in his arms, feeling his warmth. Looks like the God refining realm can't beat the Qi training realm, Mu Zhian whispered teasingly in her ear. Ruoxi blushed, glaring at him. If I were serious, I could break free easily. Then why aren't you serious? Mu Zhian challenged. His breath tickled her ear, making her blush more, but she didn't fight him anymore, just snuggling against his chest, enjoying his warmth. Then, Mu Zhian asked, you seemed a little distracted earlier. Are you hiding something? Ruoxi shook her head. Mu Lang, I don't know what you mean. Before she finished, she felt herself being lifted. Mu Zhian placed her on the table, he pinned her wrist with one hand, took off her embroidered shoes, and tickled her feet, even through her socks. Ruoxi shivered. The soles of her feet were definitely a weakness. Mu Lang, what are you doing? Ruoxi looked at Mu Zhian, both shy and confused. Lying isn't for good girls. You have one more chance to tell the truth. Mu Zhian looked down at her. Did anything else happen during the tribulation? He knows. Ruoxi bit her lip, refusing to speak. Mu Zhian sighed. Since you won't tell me, I guess I have to punish this naughty girl a little. Ruoxi closed her eyes and braced herself, but after a while, she didn't feel a thing. She opened her eyes to see him staring at her, he sighed. Ruoxi, don't you trust me? Ruoxi blinked. What do you mean? Did something unexpected happen during the tribulation? Mu Zhian asked. Ruoxi hesitated, then nodded. At the end of my tribulation, I realized there was demonic energy in my body. Just a trace, so I didn't think much of it. So, Ruoxi has demonic energy. No surprise, given by Yuanfeng's her father. Mu Zhian frowned. Why hide it from me? Ruoxi looked down. If you knew I had demonic energy, you might hate me. It's not like it doesn't happen. Some cut ties with their partners when they found out they were demons. Humans and demons are different. And, even though Ruoxi's not a full demon, she's got demon blood. She hadn't shown any signs of it, but after the tribulation, her three-tailed fox bloodline seemed to be awakening. Bad news. Anyone else would be a little worried by now. But Mu Zhian's just a pervert. I said it before, if you had fox ears. Mu Zhian coughed. I mean, it'd be better if you had fox ears. People don't get how hot fox-eared girls are. What man can resist that? It's like a speed boost, like Ruoxi's leg garter. But, Mu Zhian said, Mengrou noticed the demonic energy. If I had to guess, the other god-refining realm cultivators did, too. Ruoxi looked at him, worried. The Gongsun family's probably already sniffing around. Seeing her concern, Mu Zhian reassured her, don't sweat it. Let them investigate. Ruoxi didn't reply. After a long pause, she finally said, what can you do? Mu Zhian kissed her face. The sect's coming up soon. They won't expose you until they've got solid proof. The Chenxi Chamber of Commerce just wants to make money and keep the peace. And Gongsun Xiong's too busy with his own problems. If Ruoxi's clean, the Mu and Bai families will crush the Gongsun family for questioning her. Gongsun Xiong's not gonna risk that. So, the Gongsun family and the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce aren't an issue. The real problem's my senior, Mu Zhian said. The Liangyi sect and the demon world are enemies. And Lan Murian's attitude to demons is crucial, given her status. If she suspects Ruoxi, we're in trouble. I'll head to Yangfeng later to test the waters, Mu Zhian said. Ruoxi murmured, I'm sorry I'm causing so much trouble. Mu Zhian looked into her eyes. Do we need to say that to each other, Ruoxi? Ruoxi's eyes misted over. Malong, you're so kind. Mu Zhian hugged her. You're the person I love most, Ruoxi. Why did you bring out the love lock? Do you think I'd lie to you? Noticed Ruoxi had whipped it out at some point. I immediately grabbed her hand. That's for spicing things up in bed. My feelings for you don't need the love lock, Ruoxi. Mulong, are you worried about revealing something? Bai Ruoxi asked. Mu Zhian sighed, took her hand, put it on his chest, and said, Ruoxi, I know you're insecure. But you gotta trust me. Instead of that thing, use your hands to find out. Bai Ruoxi blushed, not meeting his eyes, and silently put away the love lock, *, that thing's way too dangerous. Any slip-ups will be because of it, *. Mu Zhian sighed in relief. Then, he spotted a paper crane outside the window. It seemed to have locked onto him, and fluttered through the window to land on Bai Ruoxi's chest, *. Lan Mulyan's paper crane, star. Bai Ruoxi eyed it, confused. Senior Lan's energies on it. Mu Zhian calmly took the crane. I'll check it out later. Bai Ruoxi stared at him, *. She wants to see what Senior's saying, *. Mu Zhian hesitated, then nodded. Okay. Let's check it out together. Chapter 77. Hold on to Senior Sister #039, S thighs. 3.5k, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mu Zhian popped open the paper crane, fighting back a chuckle as he caught Bai Ruoxi eyeing it. Knowing Lan Murian wouldn't mince words, he agreed to read it with her. If Wei Mengrou could sense the demonic aura in Bai Ruoxi, so could Lan Murian, right? Besides, Lan Murian had been acting a bit prickly lately, not reaching out with paper cranes. So, what were the odds one would arrive today? He figured the letter probably had something to do with Bai Ruoxi. He unfolded it. Just one line, meet me at Yangfeng Inn at noon. I need to ask you about Bai Ruoxi. * called it, star. Mu Zhian paused, then said, looks like your identity has raised some eyebrows with Senior Sister. Bai Ruoxi looked anxious. What do I do? She whispered. She hadn't expected this complication during her soul refinement breakthrough. It's not all bad, Mu Zhian countered. At least Senior Sister's letter isn't hostile, which is a win. And you are going to break through to soul refining eventually. Better to be in Tianxian City, right? Imagine if this happened at Liangyi sect, Mu Zhian added, trying a different angle. Bai Ruoxi's worried expression eased a bit. He had a point. It was better to discover this during her tribulation in Tianxian City. If this had happened during her tribulation at Liangyi sect, that would be a whole different ballgame. Mu Zhian pocketed the letter, taking in the delicate beauty before him. So, there's no trace of demonic energy now. Does it only leak during the heavenly tribulation? Bai Ruoxi gently shook her head. Actually, I was being a show-off and didn't suppress my spiritual energy at all. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. She'd never even known she had demonic energy. Though Bai Yuanfeng was a three-tailed fox, it seemed the only thing she passed on to her daughter was that drop-dead gorgeous face, not any other demon traits. Nobody could have predicted this bombshell at the tail end of the tribulation, Mu Zhian thought for a moment. So, if you wanted, you could completely seal off the demonic energy inside you. Bai Ruoxi nodded slightly. As long as I don't use it, it won't leak. The reason it had spilled out by the city gate was simply because the bronze sword had drained her spiritual energy dry, pulling demonic energy from within. Are you going to meet with her? Bai Ruoxi asked suddenly. Mu Zhian nodded. I have to. Figuring out how Senior Sister reacts would make me a lot less worried about anyone in Tianxian City running their mouths behind my back. Bai Ruoxi frowned. If the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce and the Gongsun family don't dare to rat me out, who would? Nobody who knows what's good for them. Mu Zhian paused and smiled. But certain individuals, especially real boneheads, will do anything when they lose it. Bai Ruoxi tilted her head, confused. Who are you talking about? Gongsun Cheng. Someone at the Qi training level wouldn't have sensed that demonic energy, Mu Zhian said, shaking his head. Bai Ruoxi was still puzzled. After racking her brain, it seemed like she remembered something. Slowly lifting her head to look at Mu Zhian, she whispered, Yiyu. Yiyu is only Qi training, but the old monster inside him was another story. Back in Dragon Head Forest, he had been at the spirit refining level when he possessed Yiyu. If it was Yiyu, he might have noticed it then. if he had gone straight to Lan Murian. By Ruoxi unconsciously clutched the hem of her skirt, her eyes filled with regret. If it were just her, fine, but if this involved the Bai family and Mu Zhian, Mu Zhian lowered his head slightly to look at her. She sat on the chair, the elegant room providing a classical backdrop. Her white dress radiated an almost ethereal purity, cold and noble, but also revealing a hint of vulnerability. A warm hand gently covered hers, making her look up at Mu Zhian, dazed. Instead of dwelling on this, you're better off meditating, Mu Zhian said with a reassuring smile. Leave the rest to me. Yang Fengyin, Mu Zhian arrived right on time, meeting Lan Murian in the simple and elegant guest room. She wore a moon-white dress that suited her to a T, her waterfall of hair pulled back with a simple white band, a single strand falling loose, cold and noble, with a breathtaking face. You're punctual. Seems you value Miss by quite a bit, Lan Murian said with a slight smile. I like to be early for appointments. I don't like making people wait, and I don't like waiting myself, Mu Zhian replied smoothly. Lan Murian nodded, inviting Mu Zhian to sit. Do you know why I asked you here? Mu Zhian nodded. You mentioned it in your letter. Lan Murian locked eyes with Mu Zhian. Is Bai Ruoxi a demon cultivator? That she added, don't try to hide anything. Even if you lie, I can use qi gazing to confirm her identity later. She picked up on it. Impressive, Lan Murian, Mu Zhian paused, then nodded, but shook his head. She's the child of a cultivator and a demon cultivator, but aside from a hint of demonic energy, she has nothing to do with demon cultivation. Mu Zhian laid it all out. He'd thought about it long and hard and decided there was no point in hiding it from Lan Murian. Like she said, if she suspected Bai Ruoxi, she could just use qi gazing to check her out. No need to summon him, this was a test, for him and Bai Ruoxi. If he lied, Lan Murian would probably lose all respect for him, and lying might not even work. Lan Murian didn't use qi-watching technique that often, but Mu Zhian wasn't sure if she had used it before he came to detect whether he was lying. Seeing Lan Murian's silence, Mu Zhian pressed on. What are you planning to do, senior sister? According to Liangyi sect rules, anyone caught colluding with demon cultivators faces severe punishment. Lan Murian pondered for a moment, then said softly, but since she's not even half demon, let's just drop it. Rules are just guidelines, people are what matter. That's what Master told me. That pretty much said it all. Lan Murian's words might not mean much, but if the Empress herself said it, that carried weight. So, you're not going to pursue this, senior sister? Mu Zhian cautiously confirmed. Lan Murian stared deeply at Mu Zhian. I can look the other way, for now, but if she hurts anyone in the future, I'll take care of her myself. That was probably just covering up her embarrassment. Turns out senior sister was a bit of a tsundere. Mu Zhian nodded gently, then asked, Senior sister, is it true that every time she undergoes a tribulation, Miss Bai Ruoxi's demonic energy will leak? Lan Murian shook her head. In theory, as long as she keeps the demonic energy locked inside and doesn't use it, no one will notice. Bai Ruoxi's demonic energy leaking today. I'm guessing she didn't even know she had any demonic energy for the past decade. Senior sister is really sharp, Mu Zhian praised. Senior sister's personality is exactly as I guessed. She's indeed a cold outside hot inside type. And she guessed the truth from just a few words. Such a smart woman. If I am lucky enough to marry senior sister in the future, it will be a great blessing. Mu Zhian was full of emotion. The sect assessment is coming up. Besides having fun every day, don't forget to meditate, Lan Murian warned. Mu Zhian nodded obediently. I'll take your advice, senior sister. When I join the sect, I'll do my best for you. He took his chance and started sucking up to senior sister. Lan Murian raised an eyebrow, saying lightly, I don't need you to do anything for me. Should I bring another osmanthus cake to senior sister tomorrow? Mu Zhian asked tentatively. Lan Murian didn't agree, but she didn't refuse, just picked up her teacup. Mu Zhian understood. I've got things to do. See you tomorrow, senior sister. Leaving Yang Feng in, Mu Zhian didn't go straight back to the Mu family. Instead, He sent a spy to the Gongsun residence and headed to the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce. After a short wait in the hall, Mu Zhian met the flamboyantly dressed businessman Mr. Huang. Mr. Huang sat down and brewed tea, pouring a cup for himself and handing it to Mu Zhian with a smile. "Nephew Mu, you coming to my Chenxi Chamber of Commerce in the middle of the day? Is there something you need?" Mu Zhian took a sip of tea calmly and said cryptically, "Uncle Huang, you're a smart man. You should know what I want." This sounds a bit like those who understand will understand, and those who don't understand will not understand even if I say it, but for smart people like Mr. Huang, it will make them smart and make mistakes. Mr. Huang paused, holding the teacup, silently staring at Mu Zhian, going through his own inner monologue. After a moment, he suddenly smiled. "Nephew Mu, I have no idea what you mean." Mu Zhian smiled and pulled out a paper crane. "It doesn't matter if Uncle Huang doesn't understand. But you should know who owns this paper crane." Mr. Huang's eyes locked on the paper crane. The spiritual energy on it was from Lan Murian, the woman evaluating the upcoming sect assessment. He's really got a complicated relationship with her. Mr. Huang's eyes flickered, then he chuckled. "Nephew Mu, I told you before, the Dawn Chamber of Commerce is only interested in making money. You don't need to confirm that with me." "I know nothing, I can do nothing," Mr. Huang assured him. Just like Mu Zhian figured, businessmen value profit and wouldn't do anything that jeopardized their interests. The Dawn Chamber of Commerce couldn't have missed the tribulation that morning. Mr. Huang knew everything, but he was playing dumb. "Mr. Huang, I do have another concern. If possible, I hope you can lend a hand." As Mu Zhian said this, he watched Mr. Huang's face, which didn't seem too interested, and continued, "Your daughter and I are good friends. We can look out for each other at Liangyi sect in the future." Mr. Huang narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Nephew Mu, just say the word. Because of your connection with my daughter, I'll do my best." Mu Zhian was entangled with the sect examiner. Mr. Huang only had one daughter. If Mu Zhian could owe him a favor, then take care of Huang Manting in the sect, it was a no-brainer. "Mr. Huang, you're a smart man, and so is Mr. Gongsun." Mu Zhian sighed. "But some people might not be so bright. If someone tries to screw Ruoxi over, I hope you can help out and prove her innocence." Mr. Huang cupped his hands. "Given our connection, this is a piece of cake." They chatted a bit more, and Mu Zhian got up to leave. "Nephew, are you heading to the Gongsun family next?" Mr. Huang escorted Mu Zhian to the door of the Chamber of Commerce and asked. "I'm not going to the Gongsun mansion. I've already sent someone. Everyone's smart and knows what to do." Mu Zhian smiled. Everything was in place. Now, if any clowns wanted to act up, they were just trying to be funny. Chapter 78 Senior Sister Lan, the snow lotus that Brother Mu gave me is really beautiful. 4K, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After seeing Mu Zhian off, Mr. Huang turned and went back inside. He paused, then told the servant, "Fetch the lady." His voice was low and serious. The servant bowed and left. Soon, Huang Manting, wearing black embroidered slippers, sashayed into the hall. She glanced at her father with a flirtatious look and asked, "Dad, you wanted to see me?" Mr. Huang chuckled and tapped the table. "Have a seat." Once she was settled, he slowly picked up his teacup and took a sip. The Mu family's oldest son just visited the Chamber of Commerce. Huang Manting raised her eyebrows, feigning surprise. Mu Zhian is handsome and bookish, but he's actually got a lot of sneaky ideas. Don't underestimate him just because of his age. Mr. Huang smiled and nodded. "That's exactly why I called you in. Mu Zhian and I have an understanding. After you both get into Liangyi sect, you're supposed to look out for each other. If you're ever in a jam, you can turn to him." Huang Manting curled her lip, toying with a strand of her hair. "Dad, I'm already at the 8th level of Qi training. Do you really think I'll need him? I need a servant to dote on me. Mu Zhian would be perfect." Mr. Huang chuckled and shook his head. "He might not be the strongest, but he's sharp as a tack. You never know what's going to happen." Didn't he outsmart you a few days ago, that he hadn't wanted to get involved in the feud between the Bai, Gongsun, and Mu families, but Mu Zhian had somehow roped in his daughter. As a result, the Gongsun family had been forced to hand over 3 cities. Huang Manting's face darkened at the mention of it. I thought he was just a brainless pretty boy. Who knew? She remembered being played like a fiddle, thinking she was in control. The smile vanished from her face. What was he doing here today? She asked abruptly. Don't worry about that. The Chamber of Commerce isn't going to lose any money. It's just a matter of keeping things running smoothly, Mr. Huang said with a dismissive smile. I just wanted to remind you not to let your guard down around Mu Zhian. Don't let a friendly face turn into a source of trouble. Huang Manting lowered her eyes, swinging her bare feet. Didn't you used to favor Yi Yu more? I was optimistic about Yi Yu because he was down on his luck for years. But somehow he pulled himself together and got back into Qi training in just a few months. Mr. Huang paused, shaking his head. But with such a hasty approach, Yi Yu won't go far. As for why Mu Zhian came to the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce today. Mr. Huang deliberately trailed off. You'll find out soon enough, even if Bai Ruoxi only has a little demonic energy, so what if she is a half-demon or even a demon cultivator? If everyone thinks she isn't a demon cultivator, then she isn't. Gongsun Mansion, a Gongsun family spy stood in the shadows, cautiously watching Gongsun Xiong sip his afternoon tea. Master, he said, how should we handle this situation? That he knew the recent pressure from the Mu family had infuriated Gongsun Xiong. If revenge was the goal, this could be their chance. Bai Ruoxi is not a demon cultivator, and the Gongsun family hasn't found any demonic aura. The Gongsun family believes in Miss Bai's character, Gongsun Xiong said casually. If anyone brings this up again, that's the answer. It would be great if the Bai family got caught hiding a demon cultivator, but he was still recovering from his injuries. If they accused the Bai family without proof, they could become the target of public criticism. Just as Mu Zhian had suspected, Gongsun Xiong was playing it safe, waiting for his injuries to heal before making any rash moves. Yi family. In the backyard, Yi Lingxian sat alone in front of an old pavilion. She was poised and elegant, her face strikingly beautiful. A glimpse of her pale calves was visible beneath her purple skirt. She wore small boots and quietly listened to the information Mr. Wei had gathered that day. After a moment, Yi Lingxian raised her eyebrows slightly and asked softly, Bai Ruoxi is a demon cultivator. Mr. Wei slowly shook his head. I did see a faint pink wisp of demonic energy on the horizon this morning. Miss, that sect examiner is extraordinarily talented. She's already glimpsed the void at a young age. Even I could sense it. She couldn't have missed it. Mr. Wei paused. If she confirms that Bai Ruoxi is a demon cultivator, Mu Zhian could be implicated. So, it might be best to keep your distance from him for now. He left the sentence hanging, glancing at the elegant girl in the purple skirt. Recently, Yi Lingxian and Mu Zhian had grown too close for comfort, worrying Mr. Wei. The master had instructed him to protect the young lady, but also to prevent her from falling in love too quickly. Yi Lingxian took a sip of tea, adding a rosy tint to her lips. In an even tone, she stated, Mu Zhian is Mu Zhian, and Bai Ruoxi is Bai Ruoxi. He is associated with Bai Ruoxi. But because of this connection, is beheading him possible? Besides, did Mr. Wei forget that he entrusted these to me for safekeeping? Yi Lingxian opened her palm, revealing a dragon whisker emitting a faint glow. The nearly withered dragon whisker seemed to come alive in Yi Lingxian's hands, revealing its true potential. Elder Wei was silent. Mu Zhian was too generous. He knew the value of the dragon whisker but still gave it to the young lady, and Mu Zhian only received 2,000 spirit stones. It was practically a giveaway, but things that seemed like a free lunch weren't always free. Elder Wei noticed the worry in Yi Lingxian's eyes and sighed inwardly. Her interactions with Mu Zhian, along with the dragon whisker and Yi Qian's praise, had made her grow fond of him. The dragon whisker seemed free, but it had snagged Mu Zhian a big fish, and behind that big fish was a terrifying force. Is Senior Sister Lan still at Yangfeng Inn? Yi Lingxian asked suddenly. Elder Wei nodded slightly. Miss, do you want to see her? Mu Zhian helped Shenner. He turned down Senior Sister Lan and Bai Ruoxi a few days ago, but he still came to the auction house to keep his promise. Also, Long Tingshu this time. I don't like being in debt to anyone, Yi Lingxian said coolly. Elder Wei said helplessly, then I'll go with you. If Yi Lingxian wanted to protect Mu Zhian, Lan Murian would likely agree. Even the Liangyi sect respected the mysterious force behind Yi Lingxian got into the carriage and traveled to Yangfeng Inn. She entered the inn, leaving Elder Wei to wait downstairs. She went upstairs and found the aloof Lan Murian in the corner room. The two beautiful women were a study in contrasts. One was just beginning to bloom, with a restrained classical beauty, while the other was at the height of her appeal, with an exceptional figure and temperament. Even within the Liangyi sect, she was the dream lover of countless disciples. Lan Murian closed a manual on the table. Seeing Yi Lingxian, she seemed surprised. You actually came to me. Miss Bai was undergoing the tribulation this morning. Senior Sister Lan was watching from outside the city, correct? Yi Lingxian entered the room, her purple skirt swaying. She glanced at the manual and then focused on Lan Murian. Did you notice anything? Lan Murian arched her delicate eyebrows. Are you here for Mu Zhian? Perhaps Mu Zhian wasn't as bad as people said. Although Yi Lingxian was still young, she had always been sharp. If Mu Zhian was just a playboy, she wouldn't have bothered to see her today to beg for mercy. So, you've uncovered Bai Ruoxi's secret? Yi Lingxian asked. I'm likely the first in Tianxian city to realize it, Lan Murian replied casually. What are your plans, senior sister? Yi Lingxian inquired directly. Bai Ruoxi's talent is astonishing. It would be unfair to condemn her for a trace of demonic energy, Lan Murian said indifferently. Seeing Yi Lingxian seemed relieved, Lan Murian continued, you think Bai Ruoxi being a demon cultivator would implicate Mu Zhian, so you came to see me? Yi Lingxian smiled subtly. I owe Mu a favor and have been looking for a chance to repay him. She paused. But you don't seem like a rigid person, senior sister. That's a relief. Someone of your stature, Miss Yi, could still be in debt to someone? Lan Murian inquired. Yi Lingxian smiled and nodded. Mu recently gifted me the dragon whisker he bought at the auction house. Dragon whisker. Lan Murian studied Yi Lingxian intently. No wonder you feel indebted. Dragon whiskers were useless to most people, but Yi Lingxian was different. In her hands, the dragon whisker could realize its true value. He also didn't hesitate to defy you and Miss Bai to keep his appointment that day. To be honest, if he didn't have such a bad reputation, I might have been moved, Yi Lingxian added. Lan Murian pursed her lips beneath the veil. Miss Yi, if that's all, please leave. Just as I suspected, senior sister really cares about Mu Zhian's situation. Yi Lingxian glanced at Lan Murian meaningfully, then shifted her gaze. Her eyes landed on the decorations. On the table sat a vase with a snow lotus. Is that a snow lotus? Yi Lingxian asked. Lan Murian nodded lightly. The waiter just replaced it today. But the artificially cultivated snow lotus isn't quite the same. Yi Lingxian smiled. Actually, the snow lotus grown at the Mu mansion is identical to the real thing. She changed her tone. Speaking of which, I received a carefully cultivated snow lotus from the Mu mansion a few days ago. The atmosphere in the room suddenly changed. Unaware of the tension, Yi Lingxian raised her slender hand and produced a small box. Inside was a pure snow lotus from the starry Liuguang soil. Even after being buried in the Liuguang soil, its flowers and roots remained clean, unstained by mud, purified by water. Lan Murian's eyes were fixed on the snow lotus. Where did this come from? Lan Murian asked, her expressionless. Yi Lingxian narrowed her eyes, smiled sweetly, and said, Mu gave it to me. Senior sister, I'll be leaving. Yi Lingxian bowed politely and left. Mu Zhian. Lan Murian's forehead creased, and a coldness appeared in her eyes. That night, after dinner, Mu Zhian lay in Bai Ruoxi's bed, yawning lazily. Mu Lang, you worked so hard today. Bai Ruoxi's soft, sympathetic voice came from the room. Bai Ruoxi was like a delicate flower battered by a storm. Now, the girl's face was flushed with a seductive blush, unaffected in the eyes of outsiders. Mu Zhian gently touched her head, pressing his chest against her back. It's not hard. Anything for you. Bai Ruoxi reacted after a moment, a little embarrassed. I didn't mean that she paused. I caused you to run around and offend Senior Sister. I'm so sorry. Mu Zhian gently patted her thigh. Don't worry about it. Senior Sister is upright. You're not a demon cultivator. She wouldn't do anything to you. As for the Gongsun family and the Dawn Chamber of Commerce, they're not to be worried about. They are good people and won't tarnish someone's reputation, Mu Zhian added. If someone tries, the Gongsun family and the Dawn Chamber of Commerce will help us prove it. Feeling the girl's tense body finally relax, Mu Zhian turned her around to face him. When do you think you will strike? Bai Ruoxi asked suddenly. He might not, Mu Zhian said. But if he does, it'll be at the busiest time, when everyone's watching. Bai Ruoxi pondered, then looked up at him. The day of the sect assessment, Mu Zhian nodded, letting Bai Ruoxi bury her face in his arms. Don't worry, it's all been arranged. All plans are proceeding in an orderly manner. If someone has bad intentions on the day of the sect assessment, it will only backfire by himself. Chapter 79 XXX, 3 sections. 4.5K, 1/2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Lan Feiying showed up at Yang Fengyan with a local Tianxian city treat and knocked on the door of the guest room. Sis, you seem out of sorts, Lan Feiying said, a hint of worry in her voice as she put down the snack. Even though Lan Mulyan was veiled and hadn't uttered a word, Lan Feiying could sense something was off. It's nothing, just a little thing, Lan Mulyan replied calmly. Lan Feiying couldn't help but give her sister a second glance before her attention was drawn to a booklet on the table. She noticed a dozen or so names circled and remarked, looks like you finalized the list of disciples for the upcoming sect assessment. Lan Mulyan gave a slight nod, closed the book, and gazed out the window. The number's pretty much set, but these candidates need one final talent check. She turned back to Lan Feiying. That includes you. Meanwhile, at the Mu residence, Mu Zhian sat in the yard, gazing at his pool of snow lotus, and let out a sleepy yawn. He hadn't slept well, again. Not that he wanted to stay up, but for Bai Ruoxi's sake, a little double cultivation was necessary. The details aren't important. Hope you doesn't cause problems, Mu Zhian muttered. I still want to milk him for all he's worth. He plucked 3 more snow lotuses and placed one in each of the remaining glazed earth portions. Might need these later. Ha! A cold, mocking voice cut through the air. Mu Zhian looked up to see Wei Mengrou, dressed in yellow, standing nearby, her eyes filled with disdain. Mu Zhian offered her one of the snow lotuses with a smile. For you, Sister Mengrou. No, thanks, Wei Mengrou replied flatly, glancing at him before continuing. Giving it to me is one thing, but giving it to 3? It loses its value. Mu Zhian shook his head. This snow lotus is different. Oh really? It no longer represents undying love. Wei Mengrou scoffed. When you go to the Liangyi sect, you're going to have admirers coming out of the woodwork. If you show them this snow lotus, they'll know you're taken, Mu Zhian explained. Still not interested. Wei Mengrou refused again. Just take it. A souvenir, at least, right? Mu Zhian reached out, gently taking her hand, and placed the snow lotus in it. If the snow lotus thing backfires, I'm not helping you, Wei Mengrou warned, finally accepting the gift. Didn't you learn anything from the auction house? Mu Zhian smiled and shook his head. That was just bad luck. If you hadn't been a loudmouth, things would have gone according to plan. Besides, the snow lotus was different. Girls are coy. They'll be happy to receive a flower from someone they like, but they don't show it off. Unless they're vain, but neither Bai Ruoxi nor Lan Mulyan are like that. They'll keep it, and every time they see it, they'll think of him. Yi Lingxian was still wary, like he was going to run off with Yi Qian. But someone as refined as her wouldn't flaunt something like this. Maybe she would tell her sister, Yi Qian, in this day and age, there's no social media, no way to show off. He'd just be unlucky if he got caught. Speaking of which, he needed to find a way to give Yi Qian a gift. Even if she didn't say anything, she was probably a little bummed, Mu Zhian thought to himself. A servant approached cautiously, and after confirming the coast was clear, whispered, "Young master, word just arrived from Yang Fengyin. Meet at the arena later today. The sect assessor is testing the talents of the disciples." "Got it. Have the carriage ready. I'll be there soon." So Senior Sister Lan was doing a baseline test to see what everyone was made of. The Liangyi sect was a top force in Dongzhou. Unlike others, they stayed neutral, never interfering in anything, not even for the emperor. They had a sacred status, so their sect examinations attracted disciples from everywhere, including nobles, royals, and geniuses from cultivation families, like the ones in Tianxian City. After Lan Mulyan finalized the list, she chose the arena for the talent test. News spread quickly, and the chosen young cultivators flocked there. A crowd gathered, some just curious to see the local geniuses in action. After all, anyone picked by Lan Mulyan had to be top talent. Huang Manting sat lazily, watching the eager young cultivators strut their stuff, shaking her head with amusement. They were trying to impress Lan Mulyan before the test even started, but she hadn't even arrived yet. As if on cue, a carriage pulled up near the arena, and two lovely young women stepped out. "Sister Lingxian, Qianer. You're early," Huang Manting greeted, waving. Besides Mu Zhian, Yi Lingxian and Yi Qian were also on her radar. She was bored with the maids and servants. Now, she had her eyes on the geniuses from other families. Especially the young master of the Mu family. Yi Lingxian smiled and returned the greeting. Just then, Yi Yu spotted the sisters and approached. "Lingxian, Qianer, what a coincidence. I was just about to invite you to the Yi mansion, but you beat me to it," he said. Yi Qian shrank back, ignoring her cousin. Ever since learning that he was secretly following them, she'd lost any affection she had for him. Even if he was a Yi family genius, she was disgusted by his behavior. Yi Lingxian calmly pulled Yi Qian closer and said, "We wanted to get here early for the talent test." There was a distance in her smile. Oblivious, Yi Yu pointed to some seats. "It's hot. Let's go sit in the shade. Senior sister should be here soon." "No, we're going to chat with Sister Manting." Yi Lingxian declined, nodding politely, and took Yi Qian's hand to sit next to Huang Manting. They'd been bewitched by Mu Zhian, Yi Yu thought, his face darkening. But since he wasn't close to Huang Manting, he couldn't approach them. He chose a seat nearby. "Is anyone sitting here?" A clear voice suddenly asked. Yi Yu looked up, surprised to see Mu Zhian standing next to Yi Qian, a gentle smile on his face. "Mu Zhian." Yi Yu glared at Mu Zhian before his eyes darted to Yi Qian. There was a slight blush on her cheeks. When Mu Zhian asked, she shook her head and said shyly, "No one's here." "You can sit if you want, brother Mu." Mu Zhian sat down next to Yi Qian. "Good afternoon, Sister Qianer, Sister Lingxian." Huang Manting pouted. "Master Mu, how rude. Not even a hello for me." She said it with a smile, not really offended. How does he know everyone? Yi Yu wondered, watching Mu Zhian chat and laugh with the three girls. Huang Manting was the daughter of the Chenxi Chamber of Commerce president, a family with a terrible relationship with the Beis. And Mu Zhian had been so close to Bai Ruoxi lately. Why was he still socializing with Huang Manting? Yi Yu clenched the fabric of his black robe, suppressing his anger. No matter how popular Mu Zhian was now, it was all just a show. When Senior Sister Lan arrived and tested their talents, they'd see who the protagonist was. "He's staring at you. Those eyes are scary," Huang Manting whispered, noticing the burning gaze. Mu Zhian didn't turn around. While Yi Lingxian wasn't looking, he gently touched the back of Yi Qian's hand, making the girl's cheeks flush. Bullying Yi Lingxian would be fun, but there was something about teasing a sweet, innocent girl like Yi Qian. He withdrew his hand, unnoticed, and said, Yi, you and I have some history, but don't worry about it. It's just personal, shouldn't affect you. He knew what Yi Yu was thinking. He was trying to be patient. He thought he was gifted. He figured when Lan Murian arrived, he would wow everyone and be the star, but he didn't realize that communication skills were a talent too. Besides, could a genius be less talented than him? Mu Zhian shook his head and chuckled to himself. By the way, where's Miss Bai? Huang Manting asked suddenly. The Yi sisters looked at Mu Zhian silently. Huang Manting was stirring the pot. Mu Zhian's expression didn't change as he replied calmly, she's meditating. She should be on her way. He quickly changed the subject. How about I treat you all to tea and snacks at Chao Hai Inn after the test? Yi Qian's frown eased a little, and Yi Lingshuan's face didn't change, but her eyes showed that she was slightly happier. The Yi sisters nodded reservedly, and Huang Manting gave a charming smile. Sounds good. It's a date then. The Yi sisters were simple girls. If Yi Yu had any emotional intelligence, he could have seduced at least one of them. But now, he could only watch, impotent and furious. What was Heaven's Wei thinking? Why choose such a fool as the chosen one? Mu Zhian shook his head. Just then, he felt a shadow fall over him, and a chill ran down his spine. He turned to see Lan Murian standing behind him. She was wearing a moon-white dress, cold and elegant. Although she was veiled, her figure and aloof aura were captivating. Senior Sister, Yi Qian greeted cheerfully. Lan Murian's voice was cold and crisp. What were you talking about? Brother Mu invited us to snacks at Chao Hai Inn later, Yi Qian replied. Yi Lingshuan added, want to come with us? Lan Murian turned to Mu Zhian, smiling slightly. Depends on what Mr. Mu wants. Why do her eyes look different than yesterday? Mu Zhian smiled and nodded. If Senior Sister's willing to join, I don't mind. He paused. But aren't you busy? I can buy you some snacks later. He worried he wouldn't be able to manage things with too many people. Lan Murian looked at him meaningfully and said softly, not busy. That I have a bad feeling. Mu Zhian watched Lan Murian walk gracefully to the stage, feeling an inexplicable unease. The crowd quieted down when they saw Lan Murian, their eyes fixed on the Senior Sister. Lan Murian raised her hand and took out a palm-sized stone tablet. She made a gesture, and golden light flashed, merging with the tablet. The stone tablet began to grow, eventually reaching 2 meters tall, reflecting the crowd's vision. When you touch this stone tablet, your luck and talent will be displayed. Lan Murian glanced at the eager cultivators. Anyone want to try first? Yi Yu clenched his fists, excitement filling his eyes. His chance to shine had finally arrived.